All right, welcome back, True Seeker. I'm going to try something out today. We're going to do the Count on It episode midday instead of late at night. I might end up reshuffling my schedule so that I can do midday podcast streams to see if we get better involvement. The late episodes are easily consistent for me because I can do them after Sweet Girl goes to bed. The downside is I get even less sleep than normal. Again, normal is not good right now. But yeah, we're going to try out the stream midday, see if it improves the views and the participation. And I'd like to continue with where we left off last stream. I want to feature more work of this man, Durante Lamar. His video yesterday touched on something I've touched on in the past. Years ago, and by years ago, I mean nearly a decade ago, some of my earliest work was drawing the parallels between how aliens were introduced to the U.S. population, a mostly Christian nation, in the year 47, largely through the 47th state, New Mexico, with the Roswell landing, and the parallels between aliens and Jesus, these sky beings from another world, but also just the schism that created with Christians, because, of course, Christianity believes that we live in this contained world. There is no life outside of Earth. And again, the schism is easy to understand because if aliens are this thing from another world, well, then that debunks Christianity. But both are also based in belief. You know, if you believe the Jesus story, you believe in the religious authority. If you believe the alien story, you believe in the media authority. Wouldn't exactly say the government authority because the government was related to the story, but they were more in denial, saying it was just a military weather balloon that had collapsed and no big deal. So we're going to draw these parallels again. I'm sure the veterans here already know the whole connection, but there's a lot of people in this world who do not know this knowledge, including the man whose work we're going to feature. I'm pretty sure he knows nothing of this knowledge. I also want to take a look at the beginning of a video by a YouTube content creator. He's come across my radar before, Matt Dillahunty, and I realize he collaborates with this Durante Lamar. I'm not a big fan of Matt Dillahunty. He's a smug, arrogant guy, and I just want to play a little bit of his video and show what the definition of ignorance looks like, and how if you don't have enough knowledge, you will always come to inaccurate conclusions and false conclusions. And that's what a lot of people do in this world because they just don't have enough knowledge. And maybe you could argue that nobody ever has enough knowledge because there's just so many things to know. But if you do have enough information, you can definitely arrive at better conclusions. And I might even look at a few comments from the last stream just to kind of expose what the religious mind looks like, which is a very illogical and inconsistent mind, a cherry-picking mind, and again, not the kind of mind anybody should want or to have. We're actually going to start a little bit off topic because this guy is trying to critique numbers and the use of numbers to understand what's going on in world events. And we're going to take a look at what this looks like real quick, and then we're going to put it in its place. Let me make sure my audio levels are good first. Can you guys hear me today? Because the last time I started a stream, for whatever reason, even though everything looked good on my end, you guys said you could not hear me, and then I spent like 5 minutes in stream trying to get it figured out, and then finally I just took the stream off air and restarted. And that was not good for the views because I noticed a lot of people didn't come back for the restart. But can you guys hear me all right today? Is the audio coming through? I don't see you guys saying in the chat that you don't hear anything, so that's probably a good sign. Open Up says audio is good, thank you. And I'm going to begin playing this clip here, and if you guys could let me know if that is also coming through clearly, then we'll be in business. So here we go. We're going to play this video by Matt Dillahunty, who's on a fitting 201,000 subscribers at the moment. The video is titled Atheist Debates, Is Trump the Antichrist? And again, you're not going to hear me argue that Trump is the Antichrist. But of course, he does run on Mega, which is the highest degree of the Church of Satan, and that's not a coincidence, and a lot of people don't know anything about that. And he does participate in some mega satanic rituals, which you can see right through, like the minerals deal yesterday. Again, Satan is the father of lies in the Bible, and this entire war with Russia and Ukraine is all based in lies, and it's all based in numbers. And that's why within seconds, we can decode the news like nobody else. If you saw my video, my short video on that, it took about 5 seconds to figure out why the minerals deal happened yesterday. And again, that's why the world needs to catch up with this knowledge, because it's undeniable. Top headline today, a guy whose name equals 51, like Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Illuminati, who founded on this day. He's the top news story. Matt Waltz, stepping down from the administration, the fall guy for Signal. But anyway, let's listen to this guy, Matt Dillahunty. Just talk about why numbers, they're here. We'll just listen to him in his own words. We're not going to play this whole video, but I'm also going to put it at 1.25 speed to speed it up a little bit. Again, this is what ignorance sounds like. Matt Dillahunty, if you're out there, I'd love to debate you.
The Atheist Debates Patreon project presents, Is Trump the Antichrist? No. Thanks for tuning in. I didn't want the title of the video to get accused of clickbait, so I figured I'd answer right off the bat in that, no, I don't think Trump is the Antichrist. I don't think anyone's the Antichrist. I don't think there's a devil or demons or Antichrists or anything along those lines. But for the people who do think that those things are possible or real, they might want to address whether or not Trump qualifies. I saw that 2025, the current year, the number 2025 is 45 squared. Trump was the 45th president. So if you've got a 45 and you just put a little 2 up there, 45 squared is 2025. That was there to let us know that the former president, the 45th president, would be coming back in 2025. And by the way, that 45 with the little 2 that you used up there to square it, you could also do 45 plus 2. And what do you get? 47. What more do you need to see? Maybe we can find a way to manipulate the numbers to find either the number 666 or 616 or 661, because there's disagreement about the number of the beast, and we can do it a number of different ways. So, for example, it's very important that we get these messages. Things like, 2025 is 45 squared. Trump's the 45th president. He's going to come back. 45 plus 2 is 47. Boom, there we go. Predicted right there in the calendar and the maths. See, God had a plan, and he worked that plan into the fabric of space-time and literally into the fabric of manufactured time, worked it into the base 10 number system, the Julian calendar, which was instantiated in 45 BC, and then into the Gregorian improvements to that calendar, which was in 1582 CE. So for 1,627 years or so, the Julian calendar got stuff wrong, and the Gregorian calendar came in as a potential improvement to it to make things a little more accurate. And God needed to do all this to make the numbers seem to align in ways that couldn't really matter at all. He also needed Franklin Delano Roosevelt to serve 4 terms, all as the 32nd president. You see, because the presidents get numbered by their administrations. The reason that Trump is the 45th and 47th president is because there have been 45 men who have held the job, but 2 of them have had it in 2 different spans. So when Franklin Delano Roosevelt was president over 4 terms, all 4 of those together mean that FDR was the 32nd president. He just did 4 terms in a row. So then there's also, we needed Grover Cleveland to be elected to be the 26th or 22nd and 24th president. So Cleveland served, then lost, then served again, just so that Cleveland could be the 22nd and 24th president, because if he'd have done terms back to back, he would have just been the 22nd president, and then everything would have shifted down, and Trump would have been the 44th president. So we had to manipulate all of that stuff in order to make sure that Trump was number 45. A million other little things we had to tweak in order to make sure that the 45th squared could match the year, except that the year that we're trying to match, 2025, is when he actually becomes the 47th. And 47 squared doesn't match up with 2025. We'll just ignore that. It was 45 squared was there to let us know that he's going to be back in 2025. And it doesn't matter that he's going to be 47 and that squared is 2,209. It's more important. It's more important than that, because there's no other time in history when the president of the United States we're already narrowing history to a relatively small window here. But there's no other time in history where the President of the United States, where their presidential number squared could even have possibly matched the year of their second administration on a particular calendar. Boom, mic drop. We've absolutely demonstrated that God has predicted all of this and that the clues were there. As long as, you ignore his new presidential number and just focus on the old one, and it'll be okay. Because we needed a hidden clue that wouldn't change anything at all and wouldn't be convincing when it was discovered, except to a handful of highly tuned and specialized individuals. I remember when I was a kid, there was a preacher that gave a sermon about the significance of the number 3. It always struck a chord with me because Saturday morning cartoons.
Hey everybody, it's Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. I have a question for you. If you had to make a choice between...
I remember the Schoolhouse Rock of 3 being a magic number. 3 is a magic number. Yes, it is. And it goes through and gives all these examples of things in 3s. And I'm pretty sure that the preacher just took that and decided to run with it, because he would hold up his finger and say, look, my finger is divided into 3 sections. And my hand is divided into 3 sections. The fingers, the middle part of the hand, and then the base of the hand. Ooh, and my arm is divided into 3 sections because there's the hand and the forearm and the upper arm. And my body's divided to 3. There's left, right, and center, top, middle, bottom. The stools need a... Just going through everything that they could think of related to 3, and then saying all of this is to constantly remind us of the Trinity. The Trinity, a concept that makes absolutely no sense. And yet it's to remind us of that. The problem is that you could do the same thing with the number 2 or the number 4 or the number 5 or the number 6 or the number 7 in different ways by highlighting the various things. Of course, the bigger the number, the harder it gets. You can do a 1 for everything. We've entered an era where distrust and misunderstanding of science is coupled with a distrust and misunderstanding of the basics of rational inquiry. We are not teaching people how to think, how to go through puzzles and try to find answers, how to solve problems, how to find new ways of understanding the world and making the world better for all of us. Now, what if there's a pattern hidden away in the Gregorian improvement to the Julian calendar that was there all this time to specifically let us know that the person who was going to be the 45th president would also return and be the 47th president in 2025? Why? Why did any of that information need to be hidden? We can use our arbitrary dates and times and tell you with incredible precision when and where you need to be standing to witness the next full solar eclipse. We can tell you down to the second how long you are going to be in totality at your location. We can do all this amazing math with incredible precision. Nobody had to plan it out. Nobody had to hide the date of the next solar eclipse in a Gregorian calendar to be discovered. Despite the fact that we can do that with incredible precision, we have flat earthers who cannot build a model to even explain eclipses, poo-pooing the very model that allows you to identify them with precision. And we have religious folks thinking there's a God, sending secret messages via the calendar, but he might also stop the sun in the sky at a moment's notice just because. The very notion that we should be looking for hidden patterns in numbers and calendars and books presumes that there's some message there to discover, and presumes that it was planted there by an intelligence. You are already beginning with the presumption of the very thing that you would like to confirm when you start looking for secret messages. And when you find those secret messages, and you have to twist and turn and bend over backwards and make excuses and ignore the changes to calendars and numbering systems and the inaccuracy that's built in, and the fact that 5 o'clock right here in Austin, Texas is not the same time that it is in California right now, and that we live on a big dynamic spinning ball orbiting a sun in a galaxy traveling throughout space. And the notion that 2025 the most modern revision of our attempts at making a calendar, is numerically significant and somehow tied to the numerical designation for who is the current elected leader of one country on one portion of this insignificant rock. Why? Why?
I'm just going to stop right there. We played the majority of his video. Again, he's focusing on how religious people who think Trump was brought about by God, how the numbers in the calendar, 2025 having a square root of 45, is the sign that he was destined. And while I would say those religious people are out of their mind, he's missing the main point, and that people actually should be paying attention to numbers. And from understanding numbers, we told you 4 years before Trump was reinstalled in office why it was going to happen. Just like we told you before anyone else did why they were going to install Joe Biden 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, because 46 is important to Catholicism with the 46 books in the Old Testament. It's the same reason JFK was really killed at age 46. Genesis 46 from the Old Testament is about sacrifice. Again, he's missing, and I don't know if he knows himself, who gave us the Gregorian calendar. It was the Catholic Church. It was instituted by the Jesuit priest Christopher Clavius at the same moment in history the English language was standardized with 26 letters. And this is what the conversation should be. There's no point in uploading videos to the internet where you just ridicule a group of people. You have to have some educational piece so you can put them on the right path. Again, this man is the definition of ignorance. He's almost trying to put down that we shouldn't even be looking into numbers. Does he not know that in the nation's capital is the Masonic headquarters, the House of the Temple, where it's etched on the building, all is numbered? Does he not know the history of this nation? How many of the members that founded it were Masons? Does he not know about the history of the Masonic rites and how many of them were written by Jesuit priests and how many founders warned about what could happen to the nation if the Jesuits came out of suppression? Does he not realize that Trump's Jesuit educated just like Biden is? Just like so many of these men in DC are? Again, here's the power of the numbers. He mentioned how Grover Cleveland was the 22nd and 24th president. What did we mention the day Trump officially announced he was running in 2022? Everyone criticized him, saying it was too early to announce for 2024. We said he's doing it because he's going to be the next Grover Cleveland, the next split-term president. He's announcing in 22 for the 24 election like Grover Cleveland was 22 and 24. Again, you learn the code of letters and numbers, which comes from Kabbalah. You see through the ritualism. They declared Trump number 45 on November 9th, 2016. That's when the election was called for him. Number 45. On the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, when he had all these parallels to Reagan, who said, tear down that wall, but Trump wanted to build a wall. And then you learn Gematria, and you realize Berlin Wall equates to 45. What a ritual. Not to mention the million other things that happened leading up to that. Again, we've been looking back at how when they called the election in 2016 for Trump, it was called while he was on 248 electoral college votes. He would get more, but Hillary and Bill conceded the election while he was on 248. Lo and behold, Trump wins the election again while the country and the Illuminati are 248 years old. The same Illuminati that was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. Not to mention Trump's face is in the Illuminati card game on the Enough is Enough card. And what is the gematria of Enough is Enough? 78. Trump returns at age 78. 78 cards in the tarot deck. The top cards in the tarot deck are Trump cards. What does Cleveland equal? 78. Trump returns as the new Grover Cleveland at age 78. What does split term equal? It equals 132, just like United States of America, funny enough. It's been 132 years since there was a split term president. 132 rooms in the White House. This country named on September 9th, 1776, 132 days from the Illuminati being founded. Again, the power of studying the numbers, realizing where this system would have come from. The same Jesuits who gave you the calendar gave you the Illuminati while they were in suppression, which was just before this nation was founded. Again, there's a historical track record. There's a track record of letters and numbers being important. All the biblical languages, Hebrew, Aramaic, Ancient Greek, they're all alphanumeric systems. Every letter is a number. You learn about Roman numerals. letters and numbers. The CIA, outside their building, is the statue of Kryptos, paying tribute to letters and numbers. Again, to be talking about something like how he's talking in 2025, he's an ignorant man. Trying to get people to say, like, oh, you're looking into... And then he kind of tried to equate it to flat Earth, too. Yeah, flat Earth is a joke. Flat Earth is being ignorant. Flat Earth is ignoring the facts. The one point he made about flat Earthers is the same point I make. Listen, you can deny the heliocentric model, which was also created in the 16th century, or at least agreed to, the same century as the Jesuits. You can disagree with that model and say it's false, but you better have a better model. And most flat earthers don't care to do that. They're like, I don't care that my model doesn't prove anything. I don't care that I don't have a model at all. I just know that that model's a lie. It's like, can you know that that model's a lie when it really does predict everything in the sky down to the coordinates on Earth, down to the minute, down to the second, literally? And you can't say, well, that could be on a flat earth. It's like, no, the mathematics, which are verifiable. That's why people go to study school and study the mathematics, which are real, and they add up every day. So you can't say that none of that's true. Again, that's why people who have expertise in this and study this and have figured out how to make these calculations, they're just like rolling their eyes. They're like, God, these people are just so ignorant. Because they don't understand it and they don't have the skill level, so it doesn't make sense to them. They think it's just all BS. Realize that's like how almost all the critics of our work are. They don't understand it. They haven't put enough time in, and they just deny it. They just deny it because they don't get it. They think ignorance is the pinnacle. And that's actually what he's doing there. Sure, he might be right that God didn't predict Trump would come back, and it's not proof that Trump's the Antichrist. I'm not making that argument. I'm saying the Jesuits who run this nation, and they do, who control puppets like Trump, they do everything by numbers. That's why they etch on their structures all as numbers. It's why the English translation of the Bible, almost this whole letter and number code comes from the Torah. The fourth book of the Torah is numbers. They use these numbers ritualistically. Remember what we're showing in real time as the news breaks, July 14, 2022. I have 2 videos from that day. The first 2 were before Trump's wife was announced dead. That was just the cherry on top. The first video was about how the 2 stories that morning were Trump said he would be running in the upcoming election. It wasn't his formal one that he did in 2022. He did that a few months later. But again, go back to July 14, 2022. The top headlines that morning is Trump indicated that he would run in the election. And the second story was conservatives against Trump. The story was 60 legal cases were used to show why Trump was not fit for office and why he would not make a good candidate. And we said, there it is right there. Just like we're saying, 60 cases. Donald Trump equals 60 in Gematria. The next election's the 60th. The ritual came exactly 60 weeks into the first ever Jesuitic Nation year, which again ran from May 20th, Cannonball Day, 2021, to July 31st, 2022, the anniversary of Ignatius of Loyola being shot with a cannonball to the anniversary of his death. It ran more than a typical calendar year. They did it for the 500th anniversary of him being shot. Remember, Billy Cannon died on that day. You had the incident at the Cannon building on Cannonball Day. Last year, Judge Eileen Cannon wanted Trump in her courtroom on Cannonball Day. All these little Jesuit jokes. But exactly 60 weeks in, the big ritual for the 60th election, and then after I put out that video, it was probably an hour later, the news broke that Trump's ex-wife was dead 45 years after their marriage. 60 weeks into the Jesuit Nation year. When we know that they sacrifice people for all these big events. Elections. Joe Biden had to sacrifice Beau Biden at age 46 before he's elected number 46, 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. And again, for anyone to look at that and say, well, how do you know that's not a coincidence? Could be a coincidence. Okay, well, then you have to say it's a coincidence that Beau Biden died 201 days before the Pope's birthday, when he's the first Jesuit Pope and he's the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican, and his birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equals 201, and now he's died 201 days from the anniversary of St. Francis of Assisi's death, who he's named after. And again, you have to say it's a coincidence that Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan, which equals 201, did the funeral for Beau Biden and the inauguration for Joe Biden on the 20th of January, the date that the majority of the world writes 20/1, and is also the 201st day of the nation's age when you measure from July 4th. Again, the Jesuit order equals 201, just like Ignatius of Loyola equals 201. That's the founder. Again, the Pope's birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equals 201. Again, the first Jesuit Pope, the first to live in Suite 201. In the building, the Domus Sancte Marte, which equates to 201. Then you got to say it's a coincidence that the Jesuits were created 201 months after Martin Luther penned the 95 Theses. And then you got to say it's a coincidence that Catherine the Great preserved the order with 201 Jesuit priests. And who knows if that's even true, but that's what goes down in their history book. And then you got to say it's a coincidence that, MLK just happened to get killed on the 95th day of the year when he assumed the name Martin Luther. And then the nation's first gun control came 201 days later. And this 201 number's all over culture-shaping rituals, from the Twin Towers becoming 0 towers before they became 1 tower, like both into one. The Jesuit motto for the first Jesuit university, Georgetown. Then you got to say it's a coincidence that the Jesuit Klaus Schwab put on the Event 201 simulation the day the military World Games began in Wuhan, China, which had connections to the Jesuits when they launched in Italy in 95, and et cetera, et cetera. All the 201s, not to mention how the wars in Ukraine and Israel are all massive 201 rituals right now. Again, as we've been documenting, I go on and about. Zelensky and Trump are meeting 201 days after Putin's birthday at the Pope's funeral. Again, you learn this knowledge, you see who is using the numbers and rigging the system. It's people playing God. Again, this whole thing of letters and numbers is a Kabbalistic belief about God. The Book of Formation says God created the world with numbers, letters, and words. The same people who are into Kabbalah at the top are the same ones using this knowledge accredited to God to control humanity and manipulate humanity. And it's obvious because they do it every day. Critical minerals, 166. Exactly 166 weeks into the war, a critical minerals deal. Etc., etc. Day after day. Every day here for 12 years straight, almost come August, showing you how it's news by the numbers every single day. And then you have people like this making videos like this. Again, the video he should be making is saying, listen, deists, God did not put Trump back into the White House. This is not the work of God. He should be doing a video about how the Jesuits implemented this calendar, how Trump's Jesuit educated. R.I.P. the Pope on the 312th day of Trump's age when he got supposedly 312 electoral college votes. Again, you run the Pope's name in reverse. Instead of it equaling 201, it equals 312, just running the alphabetic order in reverse. But yeah, again, Trump equals 88, like Holy Roman Empire. Again, he went to Fordham, the 88 University, right after the Pope dies. Mr. Barnett of the Knicks dies right before their win when he's also Jesuit educated at Fordham, the 88 University. Again, you learn this knowledge, you see what's really going on in the world, and you just sound a lot less ignorant. And the thing that's problematic is because so much of the world is so inept, so low IQ, so chemically dumbed down, so indoctrinated, so programmed, so caught up in their own ego and thinking they're so smart, they can't comprehend the very elementary stuff that's being put down over here every day. I got one guy leaving a comment, "You're always talking too fast, Zach." It's like, I don't feel that I am. I don't feel that I am talking too fast. I feel like your listening skills might be shot. You can always slow down these videos anyway, but yeah, again, the numbers. They're used every day by the people ruling over us. And here, just to go over some of those things I just said real quick. Cleveland, in the most simple cipher. If you're new here, I learned about these 4 ciphers through the 1926 book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. The 4 ciphers are the alphabetic order and the alphabetic order with numerology. And if you read the book, he talks about these 2 ciphers in a certain section of the book, and then a little bit later in the book, he talks about just running the alphabetic order in reverse. So he doesn't put it all in the same spot. He kind of makes it coded within his own book. And by the way, Manly P. Hall also ended up dying 201 days from his birthday. A whole nother story. Anyway, Cleveland in the most simple cipher, the alphabetic order, 78. Trump becomes the next Grover Cleveland at age 78. Cleveland's 33 with the alphabetic order in numerology. You might recall when the Cavs were the first team to come back from down 3-1 in an NBA series and win it on the real King James's birthday. Again, we patted a lot of people's pockets with 40-1 odds on that. Not to mention we told you all year that LeBron was going to win on the real King James's birthday, Game 7. But the reason I'm bringing that up is Cleveland was the 33rd team to be in that situation, the first to win, down 3-1. Cleveland's also 165. Trump's birthday is the 165th day of the year, June 14th, just for the record. Cleveland 48, also like Donald Trump. Anyone can go back and watch my video from November 4th, the night before the election. I said it was absolutely in the bag for Trump the night before. Cleveland, the Cavs got off to their best start in 48 years with an 8-0 start, like Grover Cleveland is 80, like 8-0. Cleveland 48 in reverse. Donald Trump. Again, Illuminati is also 48. His face in the Illuminati card deck. By the way, today's the Illuminati's birthday, May 1st. Mike Waltz was the big story this morning. Mike Waltz 120 like Illuminati. 51 as well, like the 5-1 date, like Adam Weishaupt, the Jesuit, the founder of the Illuminati. Adam Weishaupt, raised by a Jesuit priest. Very studied in the occult. Again, his parents died when he was young, and he was raised by a very prominent priest, Jesuit priest. And again, the Jesuits serve Rome, right? Rome's also 51. D.C. used to be Rome on the Potomac, federal 51. Big federal story this morning. Mike Waltz by the numbers. And again, just what goes on every single day in D.C. Nothing new, just the ordinary. But again, just Trump. Split term, like I said, 132. Split term, 132, 132 years since Grover Cleveland had his split term president. And just understanding these things, you know. Grover Cleveland made poor economic decisions his first year in office of his split term, costing the U.S. Population a lot economically. Hey, look at Trump, what Trump's doing with the tariffs by the numbers. Split term, 132, United States of America, 132. And again, Roman Catholics, 132. Catholic Church is 132. Can just come back a Roman Catholic. Don't forget how it's also 219 in reverse. Should remind you of Antonin Scalia, the first Roman Catholic Supreme Court justice, dead on the 13th day of the second month. His body laid in repose on 219, February 19th. And again, people will say, well, you did 13. You did the day before the month for the day he died, and you did the month before the day for the day his body was in repose. I sure did. And again, do you not live in a world where the date is recognized both ways? Again, I didn't decide that. That's the way the world is. That's the way these people set it up. They don't have it universal across the whole world. It hasn't been introduced that way universally, where you just write the day and the month. It's just like, you look at this, Order of Illuminati, 93. You look at Illuminati alone, 150. It's interesting. What illuminates the world? Is it the object that's 93 million miles away or 150 million kilometers? Remember, Order of Illuminati, 201, which should remind you of Alec Baldwin killing the Ukrainian woman on the set of Rust 201 days after his birthday at 1:50 local time when his birthday is the 93rd day of the year. And notice they're putting out that movie on 5/2 right after the death of the Pope, as it looks like Ukraine-Russia might be winding down. That ritual happened right before the war began, right before Biden and Putin met 201 days into the first Jesuit Ignatian year. And I remember it was on a Thursday, too, because the Browns had a big upset on 35 Thursday. Browns 35 like Thursday. They had a backup quarterback in that night. If you go back and look at the box score from the day Alec Baldwin shot the Ukrainian woman, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Browns had a backup quarterback in. I can't think who it was, but he got his 35th career win. I was at the grocery store going, yeah, 35 Thursday. And then I was like, wait a minute, what's this Alec Baldwin story? This reminded me of The Crow. I remember Bruce Lee died on the 201st day of the year while filming Game of Death. And then they compared what Alec Baldwin did to Brandon Lee, his son. And by the way, Brandon Lee was buried on Alec Baldwin. Oh, by the way, yeah, Brandon Lee was buried on the 93rd day of 93 on Alec Baldwin's 35th birthday. And his character in The Crow is Eric, which is 35. Anyway, whole nother story. But I was going to say the two Lees are buried right next to Seattle University, the Jesuit University, up on the 47th parallel. So yeah, with that said, I do want to transition into our friend Durante Lamar's video. I see him collaborating with the guy who I just started with though, and it does start to make me wonder, like, ugh. You know, sometimes people are doing good stuff, but you just wonder, it's like, are they ultimately here to lead people astray too? I've seen some stuff this guy's done that I'm not real crazy about. Like, he has a thing with a bunch of ex-pastors, and they just remind me of like 18-year-olds who were raised in the church, who are going out to college and just taking it too far the first time. It's like, I don't know if I like everything I see that he's doing, but the videos he's constructing and getting Christians to try and think, again, this man's a former pastor, I really like that. And before we watch this, again, he's drawing these parallels between Christianity and aliens. And would a Christian even be able to distinguish between aliens if they did come to Earth? Or would aliens easily be able to manipulate and take advantage of the Christian population? Imagine they understand the language of the Bible and they have the plan to take over. Imagine if they just come down from the sky and they're quoting the Bible to the Christians. I mean, would it not be a master plan? I've actually talked about this exact same thing in the past, and I've just, again, talked about the 47 thing. Remember, the first official UFO sighting was in front of Mount Rainier up in Seattle on the 47th parallel, and that's why the Space Needle is in Seattle. Rainier has this 47. That was in 1947, right before the Roswell incident in New Mexico, the 47th state. And remember, you know, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, they both started their companies in New Mexico and both moved them up to the 47th parallel in Seattle and the suburbs of Seattle, Bellevue and Redmond. So this huge 47 thing, the Space Needle used to do a full rotation every 47 minutes. That was always true from when it was implemented in 62 until they changed it in 2018. They did a remodel of the Space Needle, and I now believe it does a full rotation every 45 minutes. And a part of me wondered if because it was because I was drawing so much attention. That was back when I got views. I said, they even have the Space Needle do a full rotation every 47 minutes. Remember, Seattle just hosted the All-Star Game 2 years ago. I was out there at the All-Star Game. They had to have up on the poster for the All-Star Game at the stadium that it was on the 47th parallel, and the American League lost that year, staying on 47 wins in the event in Seattle. Anyway, 47. Where does it fit in with Christians? Christian, 47, right? 47 is this number of time and authority. And again, within religion, you're doing rituals in time, and most of them go back to the ancients who are paying tribute to the seasons and the sun. Time, 47. Christian, 47. Again, the ritual in 47. Authority is 47. Government has the 47 value when you run the alphabetic order in reverse with numerology. Again, when it comes to authority, Vatican also has that 47. Remember, we just had the first Super Bowl on the Vatican's birthday. 47 points in the game, 25-22. You can see Vatican's also 25. The Vatican's birthday is 211. 211's the 47th prime. Remember, The Apprentice equals 211. Trump equals 47. That Matt Dillahunty guy who we just saw his video is like, you could do 45 squared, like 2025, or you could do the +2 to 47. And he's like, and then we could just manipulate numbers however else we want. It's like, well, if you think about that, that is pretty odd and astronomical, though. Even that alone, but then you learn Gematria, and you see why we were talking about what we were for years. Remember, the Simpsons have a cartoon from over a decade ago about Ivanka Trump running for president in 2028, the year she turns 47. Remember, Bill Clinton took office 211 days before his 47th birthday. Obama took office at age 47. Biden was was in federal government, I should say. Biden was the 47th vice president, but he was also in federal office for 47 years before he became the president himself. President is 47. White House is 47. Again, government 47, Republican 47. Remember who created the Republican Party? Lincoln, who also said 7 years ago. It was the Whig Party before. Whig is 47. Democrat is 47. The letters DC, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, are 47. This number is so important to these people. The Masons study the 47th problem of Euclid, which has to do with establishing foundation for a structure as well. The Masons are builders. They lay their cornerstones in 47 rituals. Even though we're here in the U.S. and we normally say the month before the day, that's how we're taught to do in the U.S. So we think of July 4th in our minds as 7-4, but we learn to call the holiday the 4th of July, 4-7, this nation's foundation as it goes down in the his storybooks. And it wasn't originally decided that way. But so many rituals around 47. The Super Bowl, we were talking about the first Super Bowl on the Vatican's birthday having 47 points. And by the way, don't forget that through that Super Bowl, the ones that Andy Reid and Mahomes had participated in together with the Chiefs, by the end of that Super Bowl, there had been 211 points scored in the games they played in, 211, the 47th prime. But yeah, the first Super Bowl season was the 47th season of the NFL. And it was the year the Church of Satan was established, and Beast is 47. And again, these 4 base ciphers, you saw it perfectly yesterday with the story of John Elway. The Church of Satan, founded in 66, the year of the first Super Bowl season. John Elway got wasted 55-10 by San Francisco, where the Church of Satan was founded in Super Bowl 24. He got beat 55-10. If you missed yesterday's story on the Church of Satan's birthday, it was their 59th birthday, 59 days before John Elway's birthday. But again, he was supposedly driving a golf cart and killed his agent, which just sounds impossible. I mean, golf carts don't go very fast. Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, yesterday's ritual was 80 days after Super Bowl 59, and it was the Church of Satan's 59th birthday. And it was 35 years after he got blown out 55-10. We had the caller call in the other night, and he was really long-winded, and he said so many things I forgot to resign, but he's like, I still don't understand why you use multiple ciphers. I mean, I don't know how you watch my channel and say things like that. Are you a first-time caller? I show every day how they use this system in its totality. You study sports, you won't believe how many times a game, if there's a certain outcome, at least 3 of the 4 numbers are going to hit in the game. You know, the team's record is going to become 35-10 for the season, and the coach is going to get his 55th win, et cetera, et cetera. Last night, the Lightning fell to 10-10 versus the Panthers all time and 5-5 at home. And not to mention, Satan comes to earth in a bolt of lightning, and lightning also equals 55. That was on the Church of Satan's birthday, et cetera, et cetera. You learn this code, you see the rigged rituals. And yeah, it's not an accident that in 47, they created this dilemma in society, introducing the idea of aliens to a mostly Christian populace. Again, what percentage of the U.S. do you think was Christian in 1947? I guarantee you it was a much, much bigger percentage than it is today, because a lot of people are moving away from spirituality, and also because a lot of people have been funneled in from other parts of the world where, you know, Islam is the religion. And they've mostly done that since we declared a war on Islam after the 201 ritual on September 11th. And then remember, we declared the new Crusades on the day leaving 85 days left in the year October 7th. Not an accident. And again, 10-7, like military's 107. This knowledge gives you the lens to see how the cabal organizes events in the world. This is what they're doing. They set up a calendar and a language. And in that Matt Dillahunty video, he was trying to minimize, you know, the U.S. being this one landmass on a big earth. You cannot minimize what the United States is. It is the Rome of its time. It has military bases all across the world. It has spread its influence all across the world. Its culture is all across the world. English came from Britain. They say the sun never sets on Britain. We never got free of Britain either. The U.S. is really a British colony, and its most powerful one, its military arm. And remember, what's Britain been under the control of for over 1,000 years? The Catholic Church. The same thing that was governing over Europe when a lot of the founders fled across the Atlantic to start a nation free of the church. And that's why right at the beginning of what this country is about is the freedom of religion and to be free from religion and to have choice. But yeah, the church didn't want to let these Europeans escape, and that's why they followed right over here, and they cleverly overthrew the nation in very short time. And again, it's obvious that as soon as George Washington was the president, the Jesuits were already in control of the nation. We're talking about how this nation's first tariff legislation was on the 4th of July. Tariffs 47. Again, Trump implemented tariffs on the 47th day of the Pope's age when he took over. His first tariffs he implemented were on the 47th day of the Pope's age. Francis, who did 47, what do they say, apostolate trips overseas while he was Pope. 47, that was the story we just covered. Did you see yesterday on the 119th day of the year? You see how Francis is 11947, just like Vatican? Did you see how on the 119th day of the year, Trump revealed what he said to Zelensky? They do a lot of 119 stuff with Donald, too. In Jewish Gematria, Donald's 119. They declared the election for him in 2016 on November 9th, 119. He takes office this time with the 119th Congress. Again, you learn these numbers. Vatican 70, also like Francis. Pope died on the 70 date numerology. A lot to the Pope's death. Dead on the 111th day of the year. And we're not over here arguing that this is God doing this or arguing that this is man playing God doing this. But that said, you learn about this knowledge and the Kabbalistic idea that God creates through numbers, letters, and words and creates through it. There are some very interesting syncs that you might observe in your own life. And to me, that actually might be evidence of Creator and that this is also the language of Creator. But we know that the stuff that goes on in the news is very deliberate deception. It's so obviously manipulative, like Trump's hoax with the ear on the 195th day of the year, where the one man who died had a name that equaled 195. Corey contemporary, just like Robert Kennedy equals 195. And there were parallels with the Kennedy family, like the hoax happening 45 days after JFK's birthday anniversary. And RFK Jr. getting Secret Service protection. And don't forget, then the next hoax was on the 15/9 date. Donald Trump won 59, and they said the Secret Service saved Trump's life, and that was 159 years after the Secret Service was created. On the day Lincoln was shot, the same Lincoln who blamed the Civil War on the Jesuits. And John Surratt, the Jesuits, the one who got away and is left out of the history books, and not to mention Confederate has that 2012, and we won't even talk about what they did on January 6th, 201 days after the only Confederate statue came down of Albert Pike, which was synced up with the George Perry Floyd 201 ritual. Again, you can just go on and on and on with this knowledge, man, because it does. It just connects it all. You just see everything that was going on. George Perry Floyd compared to Gematria, who was killed on the 201st day of the year, exactly 201 weeks later, and he was killed in the Jesuit stronghold of Paris, France, where their names were protested together in Europe. And again, it wasn't just George Perry Floyd. It was Roxy Washington, his baby mama, who was in the news a lot. And it was Lamar Ferguson, the first guy interviewed in Minneapolis after the killing, who said he was beat up by the same police, which automatically reminded everybody of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, right out of another Jesuit stronghold. I wrote Bergeson. Hold on. Michael Brown. Sorry. Michael Brown, 201. Yeah. Anyway. And don't forget, Michael Brown was on the day leaving 144 days left in the year, like Trump's ex-wife died 144 days after her birthday, going with Trump being at the Vatican on the 144th day of the year, where it looked like they were all dressed for a funeral, and then shortly after his brother died on the Jesuit order's birthday, and then eventually his wife. Anyway, that's enough of the numbers for now. But yeah, again, he's going to be talking about Christianity and oh snap, I had the wrong thing on the screen the whole time. I was doing all the number decodes and had the damn I had the wrong thing on the screen. Well, hopefully you're listening carefully. My visuals were lacking the whole time. Or maybe I did have the right thing up on the screen. Hold on, I'm getting dyslexic. Remember, I'm working on a sleep shortage over here. We've had the little one for almost 6 months now, and I still haven't had anywhere near a normal night's rest. However, we've been running the fan the last few days, and she's sleeping in longer blocks. It didn't work as well last night, but we did have 2 out of the last 4 days. She slept for a whole 4 hours at one time, which felt miraculous. Yeah, anyway, this parallel with aliens and Christianity and Christians. Listen to the points he's making, because, again, and just think about all the things I've said over the years. How religion manipulates you. It makes you a useful idiot to the authorities. It puts you in the right frame of mind for where you're more easily manipulated. And, again, the things he's about to say are things I've said in the past. I've made the exact same point that if aliens came down to Earth and they happen to look a lot like us, I mean, maybe people would think, It was the return of Jesus. And by the way, I do got to say one more thing. Remember, you guys, I really do think they have something major planned for the year 2041 because Alien is 41 and it'll be 94 years after 1947. You see how, as time has gone on, they've tried to make aliens more and more credible through government sources, through media sources. And I forgot to mention that news is another one of those authority 47s. News is 47, like government and authority and Christian. And don't forget, the reflection of 47 is 74, and Jesus is 74. Like cross, like Messiah, like gospel, like parables, like occult, like Masonic, like English, like London, like Gematria. Only one of the 50 states equals 74, and it's Oregon, the 33rd state, like Jesus on the cross at 33, like how London's divided into 33 neighborhood areas. Independence Day is 74, just like holiday is 74, just like Jesus Christ is 74. So, anyway, with that said, let's listen to our man here, our former ex-pastor, try to reach a few Christians. And I do have the playback speed at 1.25, so it's going to be a little bit sped up, but should be completely audible. And I don't know if we're going to listen to the whole thing because this video is quite long. And I did listen to it yesterday while I had Sweet Girl on the Walk. I felt like he got a bit redundant. But we'll watch enough to where I think any reasonable listener who has the courage to question will catch his drift. And remember, he's an ex-pastor. He had the courage to leave his religion, and that's what it does take. It takes courage to leave Christianity when you're indoctrinated into it because it's fear-based. Cowards bow down to fear. And I'd honestly say, it might sound mean, but I'd say that's pretty much what every Christian is they're a coward. And I do think it's fair because it is a fear-based religion. It is a death cult. And pretty much the only reason you believe in it is because you're scared of what's going to happen to you if you dare question it or leave it. And really, there's no real reason to stay a part of the religion outside of the eternal reward you believe you're going to get by just believing in this story, which is also BS and ego-driven. Again, why not just be a righteous person to make the world a better place and do the right thing regardless of reward or consequences? A lot of times there are consequences for doing the right thing. Take a look around. Religion has been used for genocide, slavery, discrimination against women. Christianity is something that's here to keep people in place under the thumb of authority. That's always been its purpose. Believing in stories for rewards, I don't know. It just sounds childish. It sounds self-centered. It sounds pathetic, especially when you realize how much evil's been done in the name of this religion, how many people have been killed, how many needless wars have come out of it, crusades and beyond, what we did after 9/11. I still know that all the Christians I knew in my life had yellow ribbons on their car, weren't questioning anything. And again, I was 18 when 9/11 happened, 6 years removed from religion, and I just felt more vindicated than ever. I thought, look at these religious people. They are supporting something that is clearly a lie, clearly evil, and clearly the tale of authorities. Just like religion. You see how it all goes hand in hand. So here's the man with the glasses, Durante Lamar. Here he goes.
If a being descended from the sky today and said, I am God, and performed enough miracles, most Christians wouldn't test it, they'd worship it. And that should terrify all of us. We're not talking science fiction anymore. We're talking about how centuries of religious conditioning, especially in Christianity, may have created the perfect global vulnerability. Not a people ready to defend Earth, but a people primed to surrender it. My name is Durante Lamar. I'm a former pastor, a secular humanist, and today we're pulling back the veil on something most people have never seriously considered. What if alien contact doesn't challenge religion, but activates it? What if the world's most dominant belief systems, especially Christianity, are already structured to submit to any being that can play the part of God? What if a savior from the sky isn't here to save us? In this video, we're going to walk through why alien contact is now scientifically plausible, how Christianity is built to interpret powerful beings as divine, and why billions of people have been trained not to think, but to obey. This isn't about mocking belief, it's about asking a hard question. Are we still capable of protecting human freedom in a world where people are willing to die or kill for a throne in the clouds? Let's talk about it. The alien hypothesis is no longer fringe. We're closer than ever to confirming that we may not be alone, and that can change everything. With billions of galaxies, each containing billions of stars and most stars hosting planets, the mathematical probability of intelligent life elsewhere is no longer debated, it's expected. The discovery of extremophiles, life forms in Earth's most hostile environments, proves life can emerge in conditions once thought impossible. Modern astrophysics now speaks in terms of the Fermi paradox. Why haven't we heard from them yet? Instead of, if they exist. We've gone from are aliens real to what kind of contact would it be and how would we respond? The U.S. Department of Defense and other governments have openly acknowledged unidentified aerial phenomena that defy known physics. Task force have been created, reports have been declassified. Even skeptics admit something real is likely being observed. When institutions that once mocked believers now admit we don't know what this is, it reopens public imagination and fear, especially religious fear. The gods of ancient texts, Yahweh, Zeus, Horus, come from the sky, wield power, and demand obedience. Abrahamic religions, especially Christianity, are rooted in the idea of revelation from above, where the divine is not discovered, but descends. This history makes it easy to confuse alien contact with divine visitation. The interpretive software is already installed. If an alien shows up with light, power, and words of judgment, many will not see ET, but Elohim. Humans are wired to find agency in the unknown. The brain seeks agency and pattern in moments of uncertainty. When encountering something far beyond comprehension, our default mode is mythologization, assigning meaning based on existing narratives. We tend to project divine qualities onto any force that is omnipresent or faster than us, omnipotent or more advanced than us, omniscient or just more informed than us. We don't evaluate what we're seeing, we classify it based on what we've been taught it must be. In this thought experiment, contact would trigger mass identity crisis. Our social world is built around Earth as the center of intelligent life. If intelligent alien life is confirmed, every system, religion, economy, law, morality, nationalism becomes instantly outdated or irrelevant. That would trigger authoritarian surges. We need protection from cosmic threats, religious revivals or realignments, radical cooperation or radical division, depending on the narrative. The sociological tipping point here is that humanity won't respond as a species. It'll likely respond in factions. And those factions will be shaped by what people already believe. We're no longer dealing with science fiction. We're standing at the edge of scientific confirmation. And when that day comes, the biggest threats may not be what's out there, but how unprepared our beliefs are to interpret it. We have to discuss how Abrahamic religion is already a story of alien contact. From its origins, the God of Abraham behaves less like a metaphor for moral order and more like an extraterrestrial overlord. In the Hebrew Bible, God descends from the sky. He speaks through fire, smoke, and thunder. He travels in clouds, storms, and a mobile throne. He sends beings with wings, wheels, and glowing bodies. Jesus ascends into the sky, promising to return with armies. Revelation depicts a cosmic battle initiated by a being coming down on a white horse from heaven, slaying the enemies of God. These are extraterrestrial tropes, not spiritual metaphors. They describe an outside intelligence descending into Earth's domain to control, punish, reward, and extract loyalty. In ancient Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Greco-Roman cultures, gods descended to bring law and empire. Rulers claimed divine ancestry or contact with beings from beyond to justify their rule. Abrahamic religions consolidated and weaponized this model. God isn't just in the sky, God owns the earth. His rule isn't requested, it's demanded. His presence isn't metaphorical, it's militaristic. From the burning bush to the rapture, Abrahamic faiths tell the story of a cosmic superior visiting, judging, and ruling earth from a non-earthly domain. Other humans evolved to show deference to beings perceived as more powerful, especially when those beings seem to know things we don't, control forces we can't, arrive from places we can't access. Religion often personifies this instinct, but Christianity codifies it. Every knee shall bow. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Obedience is better than sacrifice. A psychologically uncritical mind will surrender to anything impressive enough, and Christianity frames this surrender as virtue. Religion, particularly Christianity, doesn't just encourage belief, it teaches submission to absolute authority. That submission is non-negotiable, unquestionable, and eternally rewarded. A being showing up and claiming to be the one true God could exploit this structure instantly. A powerful alien wouldn't have to conquer humanity, they just have to quote Revelation. An advanced civilization arrives. They demonstrate power, control gravity, manipulate energy, offer healing. They speak in biblical phrases. They show people their sins. They offer salvation in exchange for obedience. Millions wouldn't question it. They'd worship it. They'd help it enforce compliance. In their minds, this would be the second coming. Christianity isn't just acceptable to alien deception, it's structured to welcome it. What most Christians call salvation history is functionally the template for extraterrestrial conquest, disguised as divine fulfillment. Christians are trained to obey power, not test truth. If a being says, I am God, and displays enough power, many Christians will obey, not investigate. The confusion between power and goodness is one that's been with us for a very long time. From childhood, believers are taught that God's power...
I just want to mention something that was said in the chat. I brought up how the word alien equals 41 and 94, and 2041, the year, will be 94 years after Roswell. But keep in mind, Seattle, Washington equals 94, where the first sighting was, and again, the Space Needle's there. But Project Bluebeam was just brought up in the chat. Project Bluebeam goes back to the year 94. And not an accident. One of the strangest looking men in the world is Jeff Bezos, whose name equals 94. And of course, he launched Amazon in 94. And again, some of this crazy technology, it does make you wonder. It does make you wonder, is it like they live? But yeah, it is interesting, the parallels between Christianity and aliens. I'm going to play a little bit more of this, and then I think we'll take some calls. But yeah, just think about it. Think about how these things align, how the cabal has set them up by the numbers. But by the way, if you've never seen the movie Knowing with Nicolas Cage, check out that movie. He's an MIT professor. He runs across a numerological code. He starts to realize it's been laid out for decades when major events are going to happen in the world to the day. And at the end of the movie, he discovers it's aliens that laid down the code. And the aliens' plan is to destroy humanity, kind of like God in the Bible, but save all the children. And don't forget, save's another one of those classic 47 words, right? Save, 47, and 61, just like Christian. And notice save was also 11, like Jesus, just for the record. But a little bit more, and then we'll take some calls here.
Proves his goodness, not the other way around. That might makes right. He flooded the world, that's justice. He demanded genocide, well, that's holiness. He sends people to eternal torment, that's love. This teaches people not to question power, but to submit to it as inherently right, even when it contradicts their own moral instincts. The Bible is full of commands to obey without question. Lean not on your own understanding. Take every thought captive. The fear of the Lord, again, is the beginning of wisdom. Faith is framed as obedience to mystery, not critical engagement with truth. Christianity's moral system is less about ethical reasoning and more about alignment with divine will, no matter how incomprehensible or cruel. Studies in cognitive psychology show that awe-inspiring displays such as vast power or mystery spectacle can temporarily suppress critical thought. Religious rituals and charismatic worship use this effect intentionally to induce a trance-like openness to suggestion. If a being arrived with sufficient spectacle, most believers would shift from skepticism to reverence instantly. Their guard wouldn't go up, it would come down. Not because the being earned trust, but because it triggered awe. Across history, religious systems have been used to justify obedience to dictators, monarchs, and empires. The divine right of kings, God and country propaganda, cult leaders claiming divine anointing. Christianity doesn't require that power be ethical, only that it be legitimized as divine. The modern Christian mind has been pre-trained to serve any force that can speak in the voice of power and scripture. Let's say a powerful being arrives. It demonstrates healings and miracles, quotes the Bibles, declares judgment on sin, asks for loyalty and repentance. Even if it turns oppressive, even if it begins to consolidate power and enforce submission, many Christians wouldn't resist. They'll see it as prophecy fulfilled. They won't ask, is this true? They won't ask, is this helpful? They'll say, it looks like God. It must be God. This isn't faith. This is pre-installed compliance, a lifelong conditioning to surrender one's moral agency to whoever wears the crown of power. It's not just Christians' beliefs that are vulnerable. It's their entire interpretive system. The Bible glorifies divine genocide, not consent. In scripture, mass violence isn't just permitted, it's commanded, sanctified, and celebrated. Let's be direct. These aren't metaphorical. God floods the entire world in Genesis chapter 6 through 9, saving only one family. God kills all Egyptians' firstborns, including infants in Exodus 12. God commands Israel to wipe out entire populations, including children and animals. That's in Deuteronomy chapter 20 and in 1 Samuel chapter 15. God rains down fire on cities in Genesis chapter 19 and promises eternal torment for unbelievers. And in Revelation, Jesus returns not as a peaceful teacher, but as a cosmic warlord drenched in the blood of his enemies. That's in Revelation chapter 19, verses 11 through 15. These aren't side notes. They're the defining acts in the biblical narrative, and they're called just, righteous, and holy. God's actions are declared right by nature of who he is, not by moral evaluation. The concept of divine command theory teaches that good is always whatever God does, even if that includes murder, slavery, or terror. In Christian theology, God doesn't need consent. He owns creation. So if he kills you, it's not injustice, it's property management. Once a being is labeled holy, it becomes immune to moral scrutiny. Christians are taught to see mass violence as love in disguise if God initiates it, because the wages of sin is death, and God is holy and just, and who are you to question God? This creates moral confusion where compassion is seen as rebellion and cruelty becomes worship. In secular societies, power is supposed to be accountable to the people. In biblical theology, power descends from the divine and cannot be questioned. This trains believers to accept violence as sacred as long as it's claimed to be God's will, which means a violent alien overlord wouldn't have to deceive them. He would just have to quote the Bible, and many would fall in line. If an extraterrestrial being arrived, demonstrated advanced technology, and said, "I created you, you disobeyed, now comes the judgment," then floods would be fulfillment, killings would be cleansing, submission would be salvation, resistance would be heresy. A violent being doesn't have to lie to manipulate Christians. He just has to remind them what's already in their book. The danger isn't deception, it's the unquestioned sanctification of brutality. Millions would submit and help enforce the will of a stranger.
I think we'll leave it there. If you want to watch the rest of his video, again, this is Durante Lamar. His channel, I linked it in the last video I did for the Count On It podcast. And his channel is growing rapidly because you know what? When I found his channel, he was at, I think, just barely over 20,000 subs. So, man, he's up about 14K subs in a week and a half or 2 weeks. Yeah, his channel is rapidly growing. And I'd say rightfully so, he's doing a good job. I remember when Prince died, my channel grew by 10K subs in 1 day. And, man, I can't even grow at a rate of 10K subs a year with what they've done to the channel now. We can't get anything out there. We're on lockdown. But yeah, again, just to remind about one other thing, since it is May 1st with all the alien stuff and just, you know, the parallels. Remember, Area 51 is associated with conspiracy, right? The word conspiracy, 51. Some say they filmed the moon landing there. Moon's got that 51 connection. And by the way, look at the overlap with conspiracy and outer space. This is covered in my first book. Overlap in 3 out of the 4 ciphers, and you might see how conspiracies 51 and 57. So is Moon and Mars, and right, that's the new focus, Mars. Mars, big focus. Mars, the god of war. A lot of wars going on, rumors of a greater war, while Mars is very much in focus. But yeah, conspiracy 51, again, federal 51. For years, the federal government denied the existence of Area 51. The CIA officially admitted to its existence in 2013 on June 25th, Orwell's birthday, St. John the Baptist's birthday, which is part of the sick joke when they overturned Roe vs. Wade in the big 201 ritual on John the Baptist's birthday. But yeah, also Rome's got the 51 connection. And the derogatory term tinfoil hat, it even has the 5157, just like conspiracy. Remember, D.C. used to once be called Rome on the Potomac, owned by Francis Pope, not to be confused with Pope Francis. He gifted the land for the federal government for the Jesuit stronghold to be established. And of course, a wealthy Catholic would gift the land. And I realized as I said that, I forgot to make one other point about how Alien is 94 and 94 years later is 2041. Again, I was saying Seattle, Washington's 94. I was saying how Jeff Bezos is 94, who looks like an alien. Jeff Bezos is also 41. But Roman Catholic Church is 94. And remember, the other guy who looks like an alien up there, Bill Gates, 94 was his breakout year. It was the year he became a celebrity. He got married to Melinda on January 1st, 94. 94 days later, Kurt Cobain's discovered dead. He overtook Kurt Cobain as the most famous man in Seattle. Not to mention, Kurt Cobain died 206 days before Bill Gates' birthday. And Seattle's the 206 area code. But yeah, let me... Oh, actually, one other thing that's interesting is the CIA, the day they acknowledged the existence of Area 51, they did it 55 days after the Illuminati's birthday, and Area 51 was created in the year 55. 55 has all kinds of significance. Again, we talked about its connection to Satan. It also connects to God. Both God and Satan equal 55, as does numerology. Again, Marilyn Manson has that song, "When you say God, I say 10. Satan's 55 and 10, so is God. Say 10, T-E-N, like the number 10. Again, Marilyn Manson, a member of the Church of Satan. But yeah, anyway, let's take some phone calls. I got to get the phone line equipped here so your guys' calls come through, so I'll let you know when it's up. The number to call in is on the screen. And you know what? Actually, there's a lady who comments in almost every video I do. She was highly offended about some of the religious streams I've done, and her comment to the last video, Jesus didn't torment anyone then and isn't tormenting anyone now unless you believe what this guy says. Now, the thing about this commenter is I've always wondered if she's a troll because literally every comment she leaves is like contrarian to my video. Kind of comes across as like a QAnon type of person. So I just responded to her. I said, did Jesus say he came to divide families? Did Jesus diss a woman because she wasn't Jewish? Was Jesus with a half-clothed boy? Did he tell people they won't have the eternal paradise unless they believe in him and hate their families? Try reading your book and get back to me. And the answer to all those questions is yes, 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 yes. They're all yes. That's the answer. If you've read the book, you know the answer to all those questions is yes. He did say you must hate your family. Yes, he did. Her response, here's how she responded to my question. She says, if you don't follow me, you're going to hell is different than if you don't vote Democrat, you'll lose your democracy, which is different than if you don't support my Gematria work exposing the cabal, your world is doomed. I get what you're saying, and I am not one of those people. But if believing in Jesus and going to church uplifts you, by all means, because there sure as shit isn't anything uplifting on this channel. And then she came back with one more comment. She said, I've been listening for 2 years. It's bad news every day. Well, I'm exposing evil. I'm exposing a system that's controlling most people's minds. And I'd say including yours, because almost every comment you leave is showing that you believe in the system. Or you, again, if I had to assume you're a QAnon Fox News watcher, based on almost every comment you leave, which would also explain why you're Christian. Again, a lot of ignorant people into religion, Fox News, and QAnon. They all play together. To me, what I'm doing, it doesn't make me feel negative. I see that if the world would acknowledge what I'm saying, we wouldn't be being destroyed. Your comment about if more people didn't follow me, or what? How do you say? If you don't support my Gematria work, the world is doomed. I've never said that, but I said if more people got behind what I said a long time ago, a lot of these agendas that are drastically impacting people's lives right now, they would have been stopped in their tracks. Again, I did a video called The Message 2015, that's 5 years before 2020, about how their next major event, like 9/11, would come 19 years later because these people work in the 19-year cycle. COVID-19, go figure. 19 hijackers on 9/11. 19 years after the war on drugs, which was really a war on personal rights and liberty, just like the war on terror and the war on germs was, which was 19 years after JFK, which got us involved in Vietnam, another war that cost a lot of people's lives and a whole bunch of money and got us into more financial problems as a nation, as a people. Again, we've been on it. Imagine the whole world had backed the message about 2015 and the 19-year cycles. Just imagine. Do you think COVID-19 would have worked at all? Everybody is suffering right now because that agenda wasn't stopped in its tracks. I don't think anybody put out a video more clear in the world about what was coming and why. And then not to mention, I rushed out a book, Number Games, which was a great work for as much as I had to rush it out, nailing exactly when the scandemic would end and what was going to come from the Pokey-dokes. And not to mention, we've done a million other things too. That's not the only claim to fame. So again, to me, exposing what's going on, if you see that as negative but believing in some fake religion is uplifting, I'd say that makes you a stupid person. And honestly, I already thought that about you, to be perfectly honest, because that's all I ever see in your comments. But I try to fix stupid. That's what this channel's about, trying to fix stupid. That's also positive. The problem is so many of you guys are so dumb and you're so caught up in your ego, you're uncurable. And that's why I often rant about how most of you guys just belong in the wood chipper. Or I wish they'd get on with the Georgia Guidestones agenda. Let's not forget how they came down 201 days after the Pope's birthday. Because again, you guys are like helpless. Again, it's a society of helpless losers for the most part. And if you think that's negative too, other people who aren't part of the helpless loser, they enjoy hearing somebody else call it out exactly how it is. A lot of you are fed up with how dumb humanity is. Just this pathetic lot of losers who never learn, just keep making the same mistakes, keep shouting down the truth tellers, demonizing the truth tellers, and then sucking up to the authority who's, you know what they're doing, this every day in their southern region. So anyway, if you're out there, her name happens to be Donna. I know another hard-headed Donna in this world. If you're out there, Donna, call in today. Why do you hang around here and leave some contrarian comment each time? Why are you more into QAnon? Why is bullshit religion uplifting to you? Again, they call what? Religion opiate for the masses, because most of the masses are suffering, having this delusional thought about, oh, once I get out of this place, everything will be eternal peace. But again, that's not even what it is in your Bible, right? There's a war going on in heaven. So I'm not sure heaven's all it's cracked up to be. But yeah, if you guys want to call in, the line is open, 509-560-4982. 506-49. What did I just say? I'm getting dyslexic. 509-560-4982. 509-560-4982. Getting tongue twisted with my number. Well, the one physical description, I see the comment in the chat, the one physical description of Jesus in the Bible is that of someone that sounds what? Like white Jesus? Or does he sound more of a darker complexion? Skin like burnt brass? I mean, sounds like black to me. Hair described like wool. Again, why did the Catholic-owned Interscope Records do what they did with Tupac? They killed him on Caesar Borgia's birthday, where white Jesus comes from. They put out an album with him as a black Jesus on the cross on the real, or actually on the Jesuit day. Remember the 5th of November. Again, the album was Machiavelli. Machiavelli wrote The Prince based on Caesar Borgia. Again, when Prince died, right after his mom's death is announced on the real Machiavelli's birthday, May 3rd. What do you think they're trying to tell you? Oh, hold on, 313. I messed up with my audio settings. I thought I had it all right. Let me tweak one thing here so they can hear you so clearly. Almost got it. All right, let's try it out again. 313, can you hear me?
Hey, Zach. How you doing, Zach? How you doing, my brother?
Yeah, doing all right. What's up, man?
Hey, Zach, I just want to point out this one thing, Zach, because I was listening to you, because I watch your videos every day, my brother, every day, and I just want to know, just out of curiosity, okay, when you were talking about the pandemic when it went on, just out of curiosity, I don't know, did you ever talk about that guy that doctor? Because I believe somebody told me that it was a Chinese doctor. That he had died.
The whistleblower. The whistleblower doctor. He died right at the start. I believe, if I remember right, he died on the 38th day of the year. Let me see if I can pull it up here.
Right.
What were you going to ask me about that, though?
I was going to ask you because somebody, I don't know if it's true, but somebody was telling me, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but somebody was telling me that I think that what he did, that he actually, I guess, that when it was going on, that he was somehow or another, they said that he went into a lab, and I guess he must have probably, must have found out what was going on, or what they were putting in those vaccines. Because I'm gonna tell you, I never got those shots. I never got them, and I never once at all, because the shots. I heard things about the shots, but I would never get the shot, never have. But I'm just saying what I'm trying to say is that
just to answer your question, I pulled up the post. His name was Li Wenliang, which equals 56, like coronavirus, like everything about the pandemic was 56. They said he was at that lab that was established in 1956. Remember, our own media admitted that it was true 56 months after the scandemic was declared. So yeah, it was another 56 ritual in the long list. This is covered in my first book, Number Games, by the way. And actually, they said that the news broke that he died actually on February 6th, which can be written 2-6 or 6-2. China, virus, and plague all equal 26. So,
oh my God! Wow! Wow! Because I see. That's what I said, because I've been following your work for almost 5 months, and again because I just about to know. I said let me ask him to see if he covered it, because I know you probably had to cover that, because the way they said he died, I said, you know what? Like you said, Zach, that stuff is not an accident. It's not an accident. I said, I'm just like wow. But I Couldn't believe it. This is why I keep trying to tell people. I keep trying to tell people, try to wake people up because they lie, like you said, they lie about so much stuff. They lie to people so much, and the thing about it, people just believe the propaganda. Just like on TV, the news, all it is it's just propaganda. Propaganda. That's why I can't stand the lies. I cannot stand the lies because, like I said, people just got to wake up. They got to wake up.
Indeed, they do. Indeed, they do. I appreciate the call, friend. Thank you so much. You have a good day.
Okay, let's take care.
Take care. What's up? Oh, I didn't switch over quick enough for 936. I can't read the chat. The chat just gives me a headache. The Bible is a book for the person who reads it, just like your book. Well, my book was factual, not based in allegory, and anyone who read my book might have saved their own life, actually, by avoiding the pokey-dokes, and they would have known how long to prepare for the scandemic, because it told you exactly when it was going to end when the year of the tiger came around, which is exactly what happened. Two books, just because it's a book doesn't mean it's equal. It's like saying, it's just a dumb comment. Go ahead, 626.
What's going on, Zach? This is Marco from beingjustified.com.
Yeah, here's a Christian who's going to bring an argument. Go ahead, Marcos.
Yeah, no, listen, I had to get in on this one. I saw the thumbnail, and kudos on the thumbnail, because this has to do with our fourth installment and film on the end times called 3 Unclean Spirits. And this is where all this crap is headed. And I'm talking about the whole shebang. I'm talking
Hold on, Marcos, real quick. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you because I want to hear you. Just for the guy that you got to be a troll in the chat, Carlos. Carlos is saying I steal other people's work. I'm probably the most original work on YouTube. Carlos, I want you to call in and tell me what work I've ever stolen. Go ahead, Marcos.
All right. Well, listen, we're talking about you were mentioning the whole agenda since 2020, and I like to tell people we're on Operation Warp Speed to the end, but really, it's going to be culminating with what we called our fourth film coming out. It should be this year sometime. We're coming out with like at least a feature-length film on 3 unclean spirits that look like frogs, and they're really the spirits of devils. But you know, whenever people talk about the whole alien topic, which is it used to be fringe, but now it's like commonplace. But you know, people, they like to go into Genesis, they like to go into Ezekiel with the wheels, but the whole thing is just mentioned in a couple sentences from the book of Revelation, and how it's all going to culminate. And I'm talking about from warp speed, think about Space Force, all that crap is going to culminate with 3 unclean spirits. But the purpose of these spirits, they look like frogs. And that's exactly what these alien grays look like. But their purpose is to unite the world. But to unite for what? To fight the Lord on his return. That's what's about to go down towards the end of the tribulation period. But that is the climax. But what we're seeing right now is a buildup to that. And it's just growing and growing and growing. And let me tell you, there's a couple films that I want your audience to check out. One of which is the new Looney Tunes film called The Day the Earth Blew Up. And it shows you about the conspiracy behind the pokey doke. And there's another one that just came across my attention, and it's called Ash. And it's another one where it shows you the conspiracy of what we've been living, but how it's going to culminate with an alien race. And in Looney Tunes, you know what they call it? Let me give you the preface of this storyline. There's an alien. He gives everybody bubble gum. They become gum zombies, and it's to blow up the earth. And what you get to see is that the bubble gum starts wrapping around people's mind, and it looks like a singular eye. And that's what I tell them. It's a play on words. When they say artificial intelligence and why we're seeing all this talk about a golden age and Stargate and all that stuff, it's because it's leading up to that. Because really, what we've been seeing on Warp Speed is that alien tech that's also mentioned in the book of Daniel, where they say that they'll mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave, just like iron does not mix with clay. So that's what we're truly living there. And what you get to see is this AI. Think about the name, AI, artificial intelligence. What it is AI, singular eye, the all-seeing eye. And what you see with Looney Tunes is that bubble gum starts wrapping around their mind. And I think you've listed this before, Zach. You said, you know, all those 56 references, one of them, I don't want to say it for the sake of your, getting a strike, but one of them was mind control. And in Looney Tunes, you know what? The alien gives out this gum, and then later they say it's an alien mind control scheme. Man, that's what we're living, y'all. It's about to get crazy.
Well, I appreciate it as always, Marcos. And if you want to plug your channel, Marcos is into the whole Christianity and religion thing, but I still respect the man. But you can go ahead and give yourself a plug.
Thank you, brother. And listen, if you guys want to check me out, I have 3 films so far on the beast, proving all things. That's at beingjustified.com. And if you want to see the films, go to beingjustified.com/beast. But this year we're coming out with 3 unclean spirits. They look like frogs, and they're coming to unite the world to fight the Lord on his return. It's going to be crazy what we're about to live.
All right. Appreciate it, Marcos. You have a good day, man. Thank you. For Brian in the chat, Brian says, you saying the Bible is made up, yet you got Gematria from the Bible. Who do you think made words and numbers? Or remember what I'm saying about the English Bible. It's, it's mistranslated, it's contrived, things are left out, things are included. There's no original authors. I'm saying they use it as a playbook. I'm saying what they've encoded in that Bible as we know it is their playbook. And it's the thing they've used to condition humanity to just believe stories, which is exactly what they need to trample humanity, which is what they're doing. So again, understanding what I'm saying is crucial, which clearly you are not. What's up, 917?
Yeah, hello?
Hello.
You know what's great about having your book on file, like as a that you could, all you have to do is type in a word and it'll go directly to it'll highlight all of them, everything.
You're saying as a digital form. Yeah, if it's digital, you can quickly search the book, yeah.
Yeah. So if you read Zach's book, he mentioned the doctor on page 188 in the 3rd paragraph.
Yeah, exactly. He's just saying if you have number games, you can quickly look up the doctor's name and see right where it is in the book. Absolutely.
Like, but so it's like you could tell who read the book or who didn't read the book anyway. But
not many people read the book. I'm telling you. I know from the sales, not many people read it, but I appreciate it.
Like when people ask you questions, it's like, wow, did you mention that in the book? Like, how didn't you know?
Almost nobody's read the book, unfortunately. I know you have. You came out to New York. You had the books, but you're one of a few. I appreciate it.
How I want to know, what people think that math is subjective?
I don't know what's wrong with people. I think people just don't have the ability to think. They have the ability to follow what authority told them.
Like when it gets up to high numbers, it naturally gets subjective. Like it's insane.
Yeah. For the record, what he's talking about, the digital books, you can buy them right from my website, GematriaEffectNews. On a cell phone, under the drop-down menu, it's under the ebooks. On a website, on a computer, you'll see the ebooks tab right at the top. Number games. If you got the digital form like this, these are the digital forms of the book. You can just do a Control F, the find, type in what you're looking for, and go right to it in record time. That is the advantage of digital books. You can sort through them quickly. So yeah, I appreciate that.
I think your prediction on that whole in 2041 is going to be very interesting. You guys going to be right around the 19-year time, like you said. 19 is going to be 2039 is going to be being into the,
Yeah, the way they operate it, it seems like that's exactly how they did line it up. So I think it's happening.
They'll be pushing it for the first 2 years, then they'll give it to them in 41 or something like in 2041. These people are. It's remarkable what you do. But thank you, man. Thank you so much for your work.
Appreciate it again. Thank you, 917. You have a good day. 936. What's up, 936? 936.
What up, Zach?
Hello.
What up, Zach?
Yeah, what's up?
Can you hear me, Zach?
I do.
Can you hear me?
I do.
Hey, how you doing? This is Are You Dumb?
I don't know who Are You Dumb is. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I've been rocking with you since your first book. All the channels, I've been with all of them, so I'm not new. I was just calling to say hey, and then since it's my first time, I was calling to tell you too. Thank you. Your book, Letters and Numbers, has really tremendously helped me. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it comes down to this year, because now it's boiling down to it to the point where it's like, because at first when I was with you, you know what I'm saying, everything was cool. It wasn't no doubt at all. You know what I'm saying? It's just a learning process. But now it's like it's just automatically popping up. So I don't even really have to do anything. You know what I'm saying? I wake up, see what's going on with the day, see what the day is as far as the numerological value, and then boom, you know what I'm saying? I find out what's going on and everything come into play. But I also want to tell you too, the true authorship of the New Testament. That's another book that's in the connection with the Bible. When it comes down to that book, those particular people that's in the true authorship of the New Testament, those people that's in that book is playing the roles of those people in the Bible. I remember you talked about this kind of, sort of, but I heard you mention what's that guy name? What is it? Piso. I remember you said Piso, so I remember you said Piso, so I know you know where I'm going when it comes down to this. But I'm just calling just to let you know that the true authorship of the New Testament is connection with the Bible and the characters and everything, and it might be a connection with the numbers too at the same time. I have to look at it, so when you get a chance, check it out. Just want to tell you that.
I think it's technically pronounced Piso. There's a
right.
Yeah, some people say it's the Piso family, Roman Catholic family behind the
Right.
Bible.
There you go. There you go. There it is. Yep, them right there.
There's
They
a lot of
played the
things
characters
online
in the
saying
book.
that it's completely false, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's completely false. At the end of the day, it's obvious the Bible
Right.
is completely contrived, and that's what matters.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, I just wanted to tell you that, and like I say, I'm still looking at your book, Letters and Numbers. I got to get your other books too at the same time, but I'm still on that one because, man, you blew me out the water with that one. I mean, what is wrong with these people? But I understand what's going on because, you know, the spell is really deep. You know what I'm saying? When it's all said and done, you know, when you have information that's right in front of your face to really wake you up from what's about to happen to you, it's kind of hard to kind of come from the spellbound and then that, you know what I'm saying, whatever the case may be. But it's just really amazing to me when it comes down to the people and the stupidity and the ignorance that they're under. But yeah, I'm about to go back to the chat. Zach, thank you so much, man. I'm going to continue supporting you regardless of what people talking about because I see it so clearly without a shadow of a doubt with the numbers and everything. I done did everything that you done did. I done did it myself. So without a shadow of a doubt, you're not talking no bullshit. It's all straight facts. And I'm going to continue supporting you regardless of what anybody is talking about. You know what I'm saying? Because I see what's going on and you really been on to something. And you are the first one to bring all this into fruition when it's all said and done. So everybody else talking that crap, they just hating.
Indeed. And I guess so many trolls around me just say crazy things. You plagiarize those work. Whose work am I plagiarizing, man? Nobody was putting this out on the internet before I came along. Stop. There's a lot of people plagiarizing yours truly, and I don't even complain about that. I'm not worried about that. I know the phrase, imitation's the highest form of flattery, so.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Zach, I got you. I'm about to go back to the chat.
All right, you have a good day. Take care.
Thank you, Zach.
I don't ever see his name in the chat. You know, YouTube censors everything. Maybe YouTube censors him because his name is halfway derogatory. Maybe they don't even let his comments show up. Thank you, Run Your Pockets. That's our took almost 2 hours to get any kind of support. Appreciate it again, Run Your Pockets. You're not who needs the support either. You're already on the Patreon. Thank you. Let's go out to 859. What's up, 859?
Well, Zach.
You're on 859. What's up?
Hey, I had one question. Is the English language the only language that these numbers are synced up with?
Man. No. These things are like on page 1 of my books. Again, this didn't start with English. It started with Hebrew and Aramaic and ancient Greek and Latin. It was on previous alphabets, and since English is a derivative of Latin, there's the logical connection for why English. And it's very possible that other alphabets are this way too, but I'll always make the point. English was standardized as we know it at the same time the calendar was implemented, and its roots are with the Catholic Church.
Right.
And it's very obvious who spread this calendar system and this language as they've colonized much of the world.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I got your second book, but not the first. But yeah, that's what I want to ask. Thank you.
all right. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, it's right at the beginning of Letters and Numbers. Letters and Numbers. For everyone who hasn't read Letters and Numbers, I've made my books free to download too. You don't even have to buy them. You can download them free in digital form right from my Patreon. You don't have to be a Patreon member. If you just go to Patreon and use the search function and type in free books, ebooks, it's going to come up and you can just download them right there. Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate that. And Run Your Pockets. Run Your Pockets said, it's more and more obvious by the day. Thank you for the hard work. If you aren't learning, you're not earning. Appreciate that. Yeah, the line is open for the guy in the chat saying that I stole his work. I'd love the phone call. Looks like just troll stuff in the chat. But if you think I stole your work, call in and let me know what work did I steal. I've seen corny people saying that they actually wrote number games and I stole it from. It's just like, these people need to stop, man. There was a guy making videos every day on YouTube saying he wrote number games. Like, okay. Yeah, okay. Stop. If we're out of calls too, we can wrap it up. If we don't have any more calls, we can wrap it up. Haven't heard from any of the religious people. Again, just religious people. You know, Marcos called in. He is religious, but he didn't really try to defend his belief. Again, I would like to hear somebody defend why you want to believe in this childish story that's caused so much division in the world. What's up, 585?
Hi there, this is Liam, a longtime listener. So real quick, I was just curious about well, we're kind of on the topic of aliens. If you're aware of the missing 411, and what's your take on that whole thing with the people going missing?
I don't know. The missing 411. Are these alien abduction stories, I take it?
Yeah, basically, it's verifiable accounts through police and military and
well, hold on.
authorities.
Hold on. Just the way those things came together. They're verifiable because they're police and military. This right here tells me the religious indoctrination or the authoritarian indoctrination. What the police and military report, is that what's true? The military intelligence said Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. They were north, south, east, and west of Baghdad. These stories every day, these police reports of these celebrity murderers where they say, oh yeah, he was 20 years old and died in his sleep, according to the police, natural causes. It's like, oh yeah, I guess the police officer said the 20-year-old died in his sleep from natural causes, so it must be. Was that a serious statement?
No, I understand. I might have triggered you a little bit there. I didn't really mean to step on your toes when it came to that, but it's actually more like a thread that runs through from the ground up, and it's a really consistent factor. And I was just more or less curious on your stance on about the alien situation as a whole. So are you aligned with this idea that they're actually like among us, or that they can infiltrate our government at this point? Has it been going on forever, basically?
You know, at the end of the day, it wouldn't surprise me if we were created by a more intelligent being and we were made in their image. It wouldn't surprise me in the least, because it does seem that humanity is very much a slave race, low functioning, but willing to work, needs to be told what to do. There's very few self-starters, and just everybody almost has the predisposition to automatically accept what comes from authority. And in a way, the way you worded your phrasing, that is verified because it's police and military, it's like right away I'm like, wow, oh, the police and military said it, so it must be true. Yikes.
So, I mean, like from local, kind of, I mean, it's very like grassroots.
I'll make this is the point I always make about alien, whatever you want to call it, the technology that controls humanity. I feel like it's beyond humanity, and I always make the point too with Gates and Bezos. Why did they have to start their companies in the area associated with aliens? From the 47 landing and then, or supposed landing in Roswell, and then move it up to the 47th parallel, the land of the Space Needle. And both of those guys are strange looking creatures, and they both have a lot of power in the world. It's definitely within the realm of possibility.
I'm sorry. What do you think about the number 411? I'm not super familiar with Gematria. I'm just getting started.
Well, JFK was shot from 411 Elm Street. It's what you dial if you need information. What's the 411? I don't have anything other than that. I know the word assassin in Jewish Gematria is 411, which goes with the JFK assassination. Oh.
It's really associated with through Dave Paulides and his discovery or his exposition of these, is connecting the dots with all this. He's like on the case, you know what I mean? And I've been really, raptured by this this kind of phenomenon. It's really striking, and while we're on the topic of aliens, that's really where it leads to. It seems like in my mind, but of course the numbers have to run a thread through this as well, right? I mean, with the 411. I'm sure there's something there to that.
Yeah. I'll have to think more about
Google, it. Yeah, everywhere.
I'll have to think more about it. 411.
Well, yeah, that's about it. I mean,
all right, I appreciate the call.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah, no problem, man. Have a good one. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. American Father says, knowing the technology used on 9/11 is knowing that aliens are fake and men have all the technology. If you want to call in and explain that, again, what if it's like they live? What if the superior class looks just like us and we're made in their image? How would you know? I don't know if that statement honestly holds water. I need some of those Roddy Piper They Live glasses. Might explain everything. That movie came out 201 days after his birthday. He tweeted on the Jesuit Order's anniversary of being recognized by the Roman Catholic Church that They Live was a documentary, and then he died on Ignatius Loyola's death anniversary. I forget, is it Roddy Piper that's born in 54, the man who gets in a fight with trying to get on the glasses? One of the two is born in 54, like Cable 54 is the enemy of the world in that movie. Jesuit Order 54, headquarters at the Church of the Jesu. These parallels between Jesus and aliens. Maybe the Jesuits are the, maybe that's it. Maybe that is why they dominate the world, why they made their religion so paramount, so powerful. Maybe they are the creator beings, and this is the avenue they chose. But yeah, I don't really see how that statement, I don't really see how it's logical. Because if that is what's going on, if it's like they live, then how? How do you know? I think we got a Sebastian sighting. Hello.
Hey Zach, what's up? Have you heard of I found some there's something called earthquake induction where human activity can cause earthquakes, and there's even like a huge Wikipedia article about it. And it basically has a ton of causes. Groundwater extraction or injection can cause earthquakes. So if they inject water deep into the ground or extract water or what they do with fracking and stuff, all that stuff can cause earthquakes. It also says that
I know this is old information. I covered this a long time ago. What are we talking about?
Oh, okay. Just that it's an accepted thing that they have this technology, even with earthquakes. Because we talk a lot about the cloud seeding and stuff that they have.
Sure.
Okay. The other thing was Knights of Malta. So the Catholic Church has another military order called the Knights of Malta, and Knights of Malta is 222, just like Order Out of Chaos, and it's also 78. It also said that they have 33 grandmasters, 33 so like the highest religious knights, and knight equals 33.
Okay. Interesting.
Also, they have the leader, John T. Dunlap, the Grandmaster, his name equals 54, just like Jesuit order. So I thought it was, and also their flag says Republica ta Malta, which is 57, like Scottish, right? Like a lot of other stuff. Also with Ignatius of Loyola, they said that he started his journey getting hit with a cannonball. Cannonball equals 56, just like Society of Jesus, and that was like the point that made him started him on his journey to create the order. But yeah, that's all I had.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, Sebastian. Have a good one, man. What's up, 559? Oh, hold on. I hit the wrong button. Now you're good. What's up, 559?
Hello?
Hello.
Yep, 2 quick questions. First thing, when it comes to the Jesuits, when it comes to them, do they, when the people that they are going after, that they're coordinating all the numbers for and all the rituals, do these people, do you think, are they aware of these things happening to them, or it's just being coordinated around them for them to follow?
Hold on, let's rewind to what you just said. Who do you think the people they're going after are?
Well, anybody, like you said, anybody in Hollywood, sports, anybody that they target that's in the media.
These people are trying to control the world. They're going after you. They're going after me. They're going after everyone listening. They're the ones who brought the scandemic on us in 9/11. I know what you're talking about, though, how they sacrifice the celebrities. And again, a lot of us sit around and go, why do they sacrifice people? They're the Society of Jesus. They create a whole religion based on the fact that God sacrifices people. This is a belief system.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead with your point now, but I just want to clean up because again, this is about world domination, and they are dominating the world. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying about everybody's a target, but specifically they put these celebrities out front. You know, I get what you're saying about that. Another thing is, so you agree then that the people that these celebrities that they target are not aware, and they're having these things coordinated around them, and they're falling into these traps, specifically the celebrities and athletes.
Oh, I've always said I don't know. I doubt all of them know what's coming, but then I look at people like David Bowie who are putting out songs like Rock and Roll Suicide, talking about too young to choose it, and I'm like, okay, what's this about? Rock and Roll Suicide, too young to choose it. It's almost, Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan on 60 Minutes with Ed Bradley said that he had to sell his soul to be famous. I mean, maybe that doesn't entail everything. He doesn't know when his expiration date's going to be. Obviously, he's lived to be in his 80s. Whereas some of these people, they apparently sell their soul and they last a year or less. So, we're on the outside looking in. We're on the outside looking in. It's hard to say. What about that rapper Juice WRLD? He put out the tweet that he was gonna blow up and then fake his death. And if I remember right, he died on John Lennon's death anniversary, and he has a song with some John Lennon lyrics. So it's hard to say how much all of them know.
Okay, another thing, going back to this Carmelo Anthony thing, that ritual in Texas. So I remember how you coordinated Carmelo Anthony, the basketball player, with the situation in Texas. Now, that situation is really happening. How does that happen that the numbers line up to that? That's just the mechanism. How would they do that if that situation is real?
So you know for a fact that it is really happening?
No, I don't. I'm just saying, I don't.
Because that's the first thing. I don't know for a fact that it's really happening. I mean, they make up a lot of stuff in the news. The second thing would be that if it is really happening, again, that movie, it's a show actually, I've told everybody to watch it 1,000 times. There's a British version and a US version, and you should take the time to watch both. Utopia. They put it out in the time, well, it first came out in 2013 in the UK, and then Amazon remade it in the time of the pandemic when we were on lockdown. There's a lot of interesting plot points in that show. One is that billionaires are raising children to be mass shooters and to be used as guinea pigs in news stories where they can be killed for the ritual of the news. The show's all kinds of, and the main point of the show is the billionaires fake a pandemic to mass sterilize humanity to depopulate the world. There's so many other little storylines in it, though, like raising the children for news cycles. There's another element in the story where a guy he works at an auto shop, and it shows him go home, and he has like a normal family life. He sees his wife and children, and then he gets this weird phone call from like some government agency that puts some signal in his ear, and he turns into a mass murderer. It's like, is this also what's going on? I mean, you see this kind of stuff in the news. Yeah, no one ever thought he would have turned into a psycho killer. It's just like, well, what is this show about? So,
you know, I'm like training myself to not believe anything that I see on TV. I'm just like, that's just a flat out start from that premise. I don't believe anything. It has to be proven to be true before, and so we don't know. And they are coordinating these events with these numbers, and so this is strange. But you're definitely on something here. One last thing I need to know from you, when it comes to the events that happen, the people that are coordinating these Jesuits, why do they do these things in such a way that you can find out about it? Somebody clever like you can find out about it. Not only do they do it with the numbers, but they will also put what they're going to do in documents right there for you to read it for yourself. Why would they do that?
well, here's the way I put it back. Had I not figured it out and put it out, would anybody have noticed? I mean, maybe the whole world would still be blind to it. Second of all, I'd say that if this is the spiritual belief system and you have to operate within this pattern of numbers where the numbers have a meaning behind the words, maybe they didn't think they would be found out. And maybe, again, they have to operate by this system, and that's why the pattern was there to be discovered. Again, I reversed engineered what I was seeing. I was trying to understand why there would be repetitive numbers in the news and why the same things would keep coming up, from a news story to what's put in the background of a TV show to the next movie. I challenge anybody out there to pay attention through an entire TV show and movie and just put down a note every time you see an episode where there's just a 47 stuck in the background. It's hard for me to watch a single movie and not catch it. I have to say, percentage-wise, it's probably in 2 out of 3 movies and shows. 47 in the dialogue, 47 in the background, multiple 47s. I mean, it's crazy. It's like, I'm like, how doesn't anybody else see this? It's in almost every damn movie. So again, I can't exactly answer that question other than how I just did. They're operating by a system. The system's kind of the giveaway. My only question at this point is, why aren't more people actually trying to test the knowledge and look into it? Why are so many people so dismissive in an instant without even putting in any time?
So most people are stupid, but they have to know that there are clever, sophisticated people with sharp minds that will discover what they're doing. But then again, they know that there are people like you and others out here, Jordan Maxwell, others before you, that discover these things. And they probably, in their mind is, hey, the majority of people are not going to listen to you anyway, so you're not going to be effective. And the next thing is, even if you do find out about it, hey, what are you going to do about it?
By the way, Jordan Maxwell, his whole thing about Lincoln and Kennedy, it helped me focus more on patterns and the way history repeats. And that's why in my first book, Letters and Numbers, I have a tribute to his work on that, and I added to it. There's even more to the pattern than he realized. And I got to say, I'll forever be disappointed that Jordan Maxwell never reached out to me, because while he was still alive, he had a way to contact him to do an interview. And I have to think that he came across my submission. I watched him do, he did that. I don't know if you guys remember that Fake Mike, real news guy, his little twerp. He did multiple interviews with Fake Mike, and there's no way he had time to do multiple interviews with him, but skipped over mine. I did also say Jordan Maxwell said he'd been threatened, and there was certain topics that he would never go into or cover. I have a feeling that's the real reason he didn't collaborate with me. I was in that territory of things he wasn't allowed to touch, because he said he did fear for his own life, and he had been warned. So in a way, that was kind of weak and cowardly, I thought, of Jordan Maxwell, but he did do great work, and his work definitely contributed to what I eventually discovered.
He did say exactly what you said, that there were certain things, like he felt like he had gotten away with saying enough, and there were certain things he felt like, hey man, I'm just not going to tip over the pail. I'm going to stay away from that. And it could have been this Gematria. One last thing before I let you go about Jordan Maxwell. Something that perplexed me about him, I don't know if you were reaching out to him before or after he had suffered that stroke, because you could tell he was different after he suffered the stroke. He was much slower. But when he was speaking of Trump, I can't recall if the stroke happened before or after Trump's first term, but I heard him talking about Trump one time, and I'm like, damn, Jordan, you know, he was saying, you know, the jury, he likes Mr. Trump. He doesn't know Trump seems to be an outlier. He may be, you know, different from the others. And I'm sitting back, but I don't know, Jordan, but I hear you though. You know, I mean, what you're saying is in direct opposition to that when it comes to Trump. You know, everything you're saying is Trump is following the script perfectly. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm
Why
not
would
saying it.
Jordan
Aren't I
think-
proving it? Aren't I proving it?
Absolutely, but I'm saying, why do you think Jordan wouldn't see that and he would say?
Well, why?
that
Here's the other thing I'm
about
gonna
Trump?
say. Why you think he's famous?
Well, he was obviously saying some wild shit that nobody ever heard of before, just like you.
Am I
know.
famous? I'm not famous like Jordan Maxwell. I put out more content. He's been around longer,
Yeah,
but
but
man, I put out a lot of work. I don't think anybody has a bigger catalog of work than yours truly. I'm not a fraction as famous as Jordan
Well,
Maxwell, and I'd say honestly, he might have laid down the foundation, but I'd say my work has taken a lot further. Here's another thing Jordan Maxwell said. He said his work will never reach people because he can't take it into the entertainment sphere. That also came out of his mouth, and I'm like, man, he was missing the whole piece because the entertainment sphere is controlled by the same group, and you can see how it all intersects. He said, I don't know what, you know, like I can't talk about the Super Bowl and all this. Man, we're showing how the Super Bowl and the Oval Office are connected. You would think this would be a lot bigger. You know what I mean? We're in the age of social media. So when I make my point about how everybody knew Jordan Maxwell's name even really before the social media internet age, his fame was put out there. Was he always controlled? That's the question.
That I was just about to ask you that. Was Jordan Maxwell, I don't want to use the word plant. I really don't want to say that, but I would say controlled opposition. I don't know if that's the right term. I don't know, but he did open a lot of people's eyes.
Agreed.
He had an effect, but there were certain things
Agreed.
he wouldn't touch. With Jordan Maxwell, to say about the famous part, Jordan Maxwell, I would have to say, was around maybe decades before you started. You're considerably much younger than him. He said he's been doing this maybe 50, 60 years, probably longer. But
again, like I'm saying, he did it in an age. He did it in an age where there's not cell phones in everybody's pocket. And still his name got out there. Even though conspiracy's never been a popular topic, his name was put out there. You came across his name. His name. A lot of people know Jordan Maxwell. And you know the thing is too, he's the guy who made everybody see the importance of water and currency, and his name is a damn river. So
he did a good thing. But then you said in the beginning when you first started that your numbers were much greater than what they are now, and then somehow they kind of killed off your numbers.
Oh, my numbers have absolutely been killed off. Look, I mean, we got 200 people watching. When I first started live streaming and didn't know a fraction of what I know now, there was always at least 2,000 people in the live stream. Yeah, these numbers are dead.
If you had 2,000 people in a live stream, that's a lot. And so, yeah, you were huge. So your fame could have reached that level.
That's still not famous.
Decided,
the only place I go where people recognize me on the streets, Las Vegas. People recognize me in Vegas, not anywhere else. And that's because the majority of people who care about this work, they care about the sports. Friend, I'm going to let somebody else get on, but I appreciate your call and everything you brought up. Thank you.
All right.
You have a good day. All right, we got American Fathers calling, and I had to let him in, so I wasn't trying to rush off the other guy, but I got to let American Fathers on. What's up, American Fathers? Can you hear me? Hello? Huh.
Hey, can you hear me?
And now I do. Now I hear you.
Hey, guys. Hey, big supporter of Zach. Big supporter of Zach always. Yeah, I just made a comment about the 9/11 technology and relating that to technology that's available to men right now as far as, before jumping ahead to alien technology. And just for a little quick context, you could think of the idea relating to 9/11 as if you ever had anybody steal something from you and then help you look for it, kind of silly, pretty easy to think of that. And so the investigation into the collapses on 9/11 was taken on by a company called NIST, National Institute for Standards and Technology. And they had a whole list of contractors that worked with them to go through their investigation. The one at the top of that list, and handfuls of others, but this one, for an example, is called Applied Research Associates. And I don't know if you want to pull that up on your stream at all, but you can pull up their website, AREA.com, and take a look at what they specialize in. can click on, let me go back to ARA.
National security, infrastructure, health solutions, energy, and environment.
Yep, what we do at the top, and then national security, go down to national security, and then down to weapons development, testing, and effects.
Okay.
And you can click on non-kinetic and directed energy weapons.
Get this up on the screen for everybody else. Oh, wait, why is it showing that? It's supposed to be showing this. There we go. Okay. You said go down to...
So at the top, we'll have what we do, and then it has a little drop-down bar, and then you can go to national security, and then you drop down all the way to the bottom to weapons development.
I'm on that page, and then I'm on that page already, but then you said to go to something else from here?
Non-kinetic and directed energy weapons down on the right.
Well, I see it as part of the paragraph. Let's see, is it? All right, yeah, here we go. Non-kinetic, I see it, okay.
There we go. So I just want to introduce you guys into technologies that are already here and available and have been here for a long time. There's also something called Directed Energy Professional Society.
Sure, I get that, but the point I'm making is, are you sure that humans develop these things?
Well, what I am sure of is that and I don't know about getting into whether or not non-humans control these companies, but these companies are certainly right here for everybody to look at. You can look at a list of under solution, even inside of the challenge section, it says, the Defense Department has identified advances in these areas among its top priorities. And the book that Where Did the Towers Go by Dr. Judy Woodard, she's pointing at evidence in her investigation and research is that 9/11 is pointing to the use of these exotic directed energy weapons. And this company, ARA, and other companies like SAIC, were the companies that were in charge of security, cleanup, and the investigation of the event. And they specialize in things like directed energy weapons, psychological operations, and hurricanes.
Exactly.
And most people don't know that there was a
hurricane off the shore that
9/11.
day. Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I get all that. I'm just saying at the end of the day, are we sure that humans actually develop this? I understand that humans might work at these companies and they understand once they're told what to do, but technology, again, I mean, you look at the average person.
Sure.
The average person is a complete dope. And you look at this technology, how it just controls people. I mean, you look at what a screen does to a human being, how it just captivates their mind from the youngest age, how just a screen is so powerful. It's just, did humans develop these things, or is this the technology that, again, like I always point out, these huge technology companies, why do they have this parallel with New Mexico and Seattle? What are they trying to tell you? Are they trying to put it in your face?
Yeah.
And don't forget how important Seattle is. Don't forget how important Seattle is to 9/11 too. I mean, so much of the agenda comes out of Seattle.
Yeah, the architecture company was based out of Seattle, right?
Well, there's two, but one of them was out of Seattle. Magnus and Klemenkic is the one out of Seattle that was. And again, the building was designed by a Japanese American from Seattle, and Boeing's out of Seattle, and then kamikaze pilots on 9/11.
He was inspired. Yeah, the architect was inspired by Islamic architecture,
right?
Specifically the Kaaba at Mecca.
Right.
But if you look at this list and solution here, even just going down all these things, ARA offers advanced directed energy weapon solutions to support our warfighters, including small, high-power laser weapons, creating counter-material, counter-drone, and explosive ordnance disposal solutions, engineering support to advanced laser weapon architectures and system concepts, advanced laser technologies, and counter-high-energy laser short-written HEL, which is kind of ironic, approach to protect our warfighters, high-power microwave system development. And then some of those down there, active denial technology, and that's the one that excites the water molecules in biological material, like the microwave in the kitchen. Yeah. And that right there alone will explain for people asking why were so many people jumping out of the North Tower, 1,200 people. There's about 3 to 4 people per minute. And why were they all going out so many times when we've never seen anything like this before? Well, just imagine being inside of a microwave or touching your arm to a hot pan. You don't even think about it. You just bring it away real quick by instinct. You can see these people on YouTube where they use this and people just disperse immediately. That's what was going on with them inside of the building, because they say that they see smoke, but none of the callers are coughing, and they don't pass out. But they see smoke. They think that it's smoke everywhere. You look at some of these things: laser technology, high power RF microwaves, sound and light, including non-pyrotechnic diversionary device, other counter personnel technologies, counter material. So what happened with the towers is not a single floor ever actually hit the ground. They all turned to dust before hitting the ground. One of the biggest things and easiest things to explain is the seismic impact on 9/11. There was not the seismic impact recorded was that as if you took a bowling ball off of a mattress, maybe like a memory foam mattress type of a thing. There wasn't the proper waves involved in any type of an impact. So each building was the same amount of material that would have equaled about 10.5 Titanics. So imagine 10.5 Titanics slamming to the ground. That would create a thud. Well, the seismic impact did not reflect that happening at all. And those buildings were also built inside of what they call a bathtub or a slurry wall, which is essentially inside the Hudson River. It would have flooded Manhattan if those things had actually slammed to the ground. But by creating the appearance and just telling people it was a collapse, is how how they got away with it, through the suggestion of, oh, that's a collapse, the suggestion that it was terrorist attacks. And look how effective it could be if making people think that they saw airplanes in the sky using something called optical holography. It's very effective. If you just apply that to anything else you want to put in the sky. Also is anti-gravity effects. There's a lot of anti-gravity effects that are involved with this type of technology. There's photos of tons of cars all over the place that were flipped over in place, perfectly upside down and set back down on top of themselves, with a car in front of it and a car behind it that were not. There's a car or a fire truck underneath one of the man bridges on West Street that was flipped over underneath the man bridge. And so if there was no seismic impact by something slamming so hard into the ground that it could flip a car over, why is it so specific with a handful of vehicles? And, there was no seismic impact for that. Missing the seismic impact would also move into proving there was no explosives present at all. Inside of a blast zone and a controlled demolition environment, you're not allowed to have cell phones on or two-way radios. And those are things that were on all over the place all day on 9/11, especially all the cell phones before everything even got started. And again, the debris would have had to hit the ground, and it would have damaged the other buildings far more. Most of the top of the buildings didn't even have anything on them. Windows in buildings that were nearby weren't even damaged very much above the 18th to 20th floor. So it's things like this, when there is free energy technology involved, anti-gravity. These are perfect examples of what we would expect, or what people would be awed with if they saw flying saucers and things using laser technology, which you won't see lasers. They like to show that in short videos and stuff, but you won't see them.
Again, just another thing.
Imagine
another thing people can look at is all the cars that were around the base of the World Trade Center are burned up and melted, and that doesn't go with the official story. The official story is they were hit up high and they collapsed. There should be just debris. They shouldn't be all burned up.
And there's paper inside of those cars that didn't burn. So imagine, putting a piece of chicken in a microwave on top of a napkin and only the chicken gets cooked.
Sure. Yeah. Melted tires, everything.
The paper is one of the biggest pieces of evidence.
Yeah.
They found the police officers' boots, still inside of their vehicle. Well, they found one police officer that as soon as they touched, he looked charred, but as soon as they touched his body, it just fell apart into dust as well. They found police officers' boots sitting around, or one of the biggest pieces of evidence is those, the firemen wear those little alarms that go off. I forget what they're called. But it goes off every so often, and if you don't push it, if you passed out, typically in a fire, if you passed out and that alarm's going off, that lets everybody else know, hey, he's unconscious. Well, those little alarm things were all over the place, with not attached to any firefighters at all. But yeah, one of the things I wanted to point at, and whether or not there could be non-humans in control of this stuff is, maybe to go further, but just to maybe introduce everybody to this type of technology and companies. And this company specifically, and there's a long list of companies, there's more, but AREA is one of the biggest ones, and it's at the top of the list. The report itself, called the NC Star 1, that was, government contracted to the company NIST and all of these subcontractors like AREA, were involved in the NC Star one. And Judy Wood asked them, she said, hey, I'm requesting that you guys correct a lot of this incorrect material that you guys have turned in. And they refused to correct it. And then she got qualified to file a QTAM case against them for committing science fraud and violating the Data Quality Act, basically taking money from the government and then providing false information. And it went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court just decided not to hear the case. Obviously, it would have overturned everything that we're seeing with wars and everything that go on to happen. But just to introduce in a website like this to show you some of these things that they're working on. And it's on, there's, look at directed energy stuff on YouTube as well. A lot of military sites have that. But yeah, just to introduce some of that, imagine all these technologies that people aren't typically really aware of. Like the Tom Cruise movie where he's running away at War of the Worlds and those people are getting turned to dust and he has dust all over his face. So that's kind of a joke and a play on some of that stuff that happened on 9/11, except in the movies they show you a laser, but in real life you won't see it.
Sure. But again, it comes back to the main point. Are humans developing this?
I like one of these quotes that say, never underestimate the stupidity of man, but never underestimate the genius of man. That's one of the things that stuck with me over time. But maybe, it could be some type of other life form, but these companies are here for everybody to look at.
Absolutely.
And investigate, and they're highly involved with, 9/11. If you look at those buildings, those videos, those things are turning to dust before they hit the ground.
Exactly. That's what I was saying when I was 18. I was just looking at that because if you were alive, they just showed it all day. You couldn't escape it. You did turn on ESPN, they'd be showing the buildings collapse all day. It's like, you can't escape this. They want everybody to see this all day. I felt like it was mockery. I was like, are they trying to see how dumb everybody is? Because this story doesn't make any sense. I mean, free fall buildings.
Yeah, I was 12 years old and I watched it. I was like, what's this and how's it going down into its footprint? But one of the things for anybody to really remember very, very easily to disprove, like thermite comes with a lot of heat and a lot of light. We didn't see any of that stuff.
I would take issue there because there is a lot of footage too that you can see the poof, poof, poof all up the side, which is like thermite. And there was a lot of heat because there's a lot of buildings, but there's a lot of cars melted around there.
Right, yeah, so imagine enough thermite to take down those buildings, though.
But I'm not saying that's what it is either. Why couldn't it have been a combination of things? I think those buildings were literally built in 1968 with the plan to come down on September 11, 2001. And...
Oh, for sure, because if you look at the buildings surrounding them, they gave all that space. They wanted to block ground zero with buildings 5 and 6, and only part of building 4 was even left there, and almost none of building 3. But it had its own entire block, and everybody was dispersed out of there. So nobody very close by could have been asking all those questions. If you think about the debris in the plaza, there was that Koenig sphere that was in the plaza in the middle of a big circle with 33 benches around it.
Right.
That sphere wasn't even covered by any debris. It was slightly damaged. And then what you can know is how high the lobby level is by looking at the trident, of the columns surrounding the first couple of floors. None of the debris got any higher than those.
Remember the trident.
14 or 6, yeah.
The trident architecture of the World Trade Center is so important because the mission to kill bin Laden's called Operation Neptune Spear, and the trident's associated with Poseidon and Neptune, and Seattle's the Poseidon city with so much of the companies out of Seattle being related to 9/11. All of this stuff was just one huge occult ritual, and it has to do with the storm being at sea the day that it came down. Friend, I appreciate the call and all the great information, and everybody should go to that ARA website because, that is awesome proof of how they controlled all aspects of it, from the military technology used to the cleanup. Really great call as always.
I'd recommend Judy's book. That book, Where Did the Towers Go? We'll show you everything you need to see.
All right.
Any layman
I'm gonna let 904 get in because he's been calling nonstop, and I got to let one more caller get in before I go pick up Sweet Girl. But thank you.
Thanks, Zach.
You have a good day,
everybody.
man. Appreciate it.
Bye.
You guys, Sub-American Fathers. He came on here a couple months back. American Fathers YouTube channel. What's up, 904?
Hey, Zach. Thank you so much for the topic. The last two podcasts have been really awesome trying to put it all together. And I also want to thank the previous couple of callers who've been just bringing out so much info. But I'm so excited I started following you about 4 or 5 years ago, and around that same time, I also got interested in all this old architecture stuff, which just led me down the Freemason path, and just trying to put it all together. Back in the 90s, I became familiar with Zecharia Sitchin's work, and then that kind of all of a sudden, a few years later, Ancient Aliens was, highlighting all of his work, and so just, this topic, Christianity versus alien, or are they the same? It's exciting to think about how we always talk about all roads go back to Rome. And then, Roman and Greek mythology with all the fiery chariots in the sky, and all the mythology, all the stories regarding that. And then Jesus comes in and he has all this miraculous things occurring with him, with the miracles and the resurrection. And so this topic is just awesome. I called in once before and talked about another channel called My Lunch Break with the old architecture.
Sure.
Yeah. And so, just walking around and looking at the technology of buildings that we don't even claim we built, right? Most of them, if you Wikipedia your local courthouse, is going to say founded. And then going right into the the direct energy weapons, almost every single ancient building has a fire story. That just, they just totally take it out. Most recently the Notre Dame thing. And then they have to re-guise it as a rebuild or reconstruction, or completely. Oh, in 1809 we lost the original courthouse, but then in 1879 this site was built, and 1899 this one was built, and it's just a very convoluted story, leaving the average person kind of like, really?
Sure.
Fire took out every single one of these amazing pieces of architecture. And so, yeah, I think Gematria is totally the missing piece on understanding how the knowledge is secret and protected, and the code is there. It's talked about in a lot of other things like the Moses Code or the Bible Code. And so, yeah, I just got really excited about your topics the last couple of podcasts, and I wanted to put it out there.
Yeah, I might keep hammering this topic. What I'm disappointed is there's always naysayers in the comments who are really about their religion, but we just can't get them to call in and air out their ideas. And I just wonder if they would, if they might hear themselves and realize that they're not making any sense. I've said it a million times before. Until we can get over religion, I don't see society changing. Religion is the foundation of why some people will believe whatever the authorities tell them. And until that changes in humanity, I don't see, again, any real progress ever coming. So that's kind of what I'm actually aiming at.
Well, with you introducing us to that guy, the channel yesterday on the podcast, it's really nice to hear from Christians who have, learned a different path, who've come to question that authority, right? And are, and this guy, like you said, you'd really be intrigued to find out why he went completely in the other direction with an atheism, and that would be a very interesting topic. But I'm more like you, where I definitely have faith in a higher power. I don't think this is all just some black hole coincidence. However, I'm not going to just buy this narrative when, you feel so suppressed your whole life. I wouldn't imagine that a loving father would want us to go through this. That being
what you're saying right now. Somebody left a comment too that all that you have to do in the Bible is just love God, and that's the only requirement. That's not true. There's all kinds of strange requirements in the Bible that don't make any sense. Again, I just find that religious people are very dishonest, and either they're dishonest or they've never even read their own book. But go ahead.
Oh no, I don't know if it's a dissidence, maybe, perhaps. And it feels good to say love God, right? We all want to love God and then go somewhere really cool after this place. I mean, sure, Let's believe that. But in the meantime, should we just watch the earth go through so much ridiculous suffering and war after war, and the script being, just history repeating itself over and over and over again?
Well, that right there, that right there, Christianity sets the believer up to think that the world's meant to be destroyed. So they want to see this happen. They feel like they're closer to heaven. That's why the whole thing's kind of sick. It's kind of sick. If a destructive cabal that is a death cult that's hell-bent on war and killing for their own power and control, if they introduce this text so that everybody would accept the world that they're making in their image, you just see how it all unfolds. That's why Christianity is bad. It is bad. It sets, just think about all of it. It makes it think that you're born bad. You're born a sinner. Things that are natural are bad and evil. If you read the Bible, the belief is that if you're a boy and you have a unjust thought about a girl because you're going through puberty and you're attracted to it, man, you could get eternal damnation for that. Again, these are like 100%. Normal, natural processes. So God made people a certain way. That's the whole thing is a load of BS. It's meant to take you away from nature. It's meant to give you this unreal mindset and be prepared to see the world be destroyed. I mean, that's why I say, are you guys sure? Is it really an accident that Jesus has the same gematria as Lucifer? Most Christians are absolutely horrible human beings that think all they have to do is believe in some dumb story and they can be as terrible as they want. I mean, it's just, that's why it needs to go. It's the plague of the earth.
So many of the Christians can't even agree on whether revelations happened in the past or if we should be preparing for it in the future. It's just like, come on, let's stop debating this. I really enjoy topics about like the Nephilim in the Bible. Maybe these demigods came down and perhaps the angels were aliens. Who knows? Came down and procreated with a different race, created these giants. I mean, why on earth would we ever need these cathedrals with 600-pound doors, 20 foot high, when we were just struggling to create the wheel, for crying out loud? So, they just want us to believe we're that stupid, but we're brilliant, magnificent beings. We have a lot of unutilized power because we've just been sauced up, dumbed down, entertained indefinitely from childhood on, like you said, just the 13 years of slave school, not to mention all the kiddie sports, the base, the t-ball, and it just goes on and indoctrinates. I lived in Cincinnati for 25 years. You just go to a Catholic town bar and listen to how angry and stupid people are. Mm-hmm. And it just breaks your heart because you can't have any type of intelligent conversation. You have to dumb your own conversation down just to enjoy your beverage. But anywho, no, I love this topic. I'm gonna start sharing these last couple of podcasts, and that's a leap of faith for me too, because I secretly, obviously not so secretly now that I'm putting it out there, I worry about sharing this information. I don't want to be targeted. I kind of know what that feels like, and I have kids, grandkids. That makes me concerned. But I'm going to start sharing this stuff indeed, and I just wanted to thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you so much, and thanks for your call today.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Yeah, a number of you guys have left comments like somebody in the chat right now. You need to do this for your baby. No, I don't need to indoctrinate my child into this fear-based religion that has helped destroy the world. All you guys see, the religious mindset creates a cherry-picking website. I was on a panel the other day, and a guy said, all this country needs is Judeo-Christian values and everything will be solved. And I said, well, this country was founded out of Judeo-Christian values. That was used to enslave darker-complected people, genocide the natives who were seen as savages. It was used to justify why women shouldn't have rights. I don't think that Judeo-Christian values, and then he's like, it was Judeo-Christian values that ended all those. It's like, dude, those were all the justifications for those things, not that they ended them. What's up, Jason D? I have to go pick up Sweet Girl right now, but please, I'm listening.
All right, hey man. So back when those fires started in LA, they started like January 7th. So when you have time and American Fathers, what he was talking about, he might want to look into this as well. So 1/7 or 107, I guess you could say for the date. Look up Michael Faraday. And he basically invented what they call gyroelectromagnetism. And those fires started 107 days after his birthday. His name equals 107. It says, let's see, 107 days after his birthday, it's basically magnetizing laser beams for induction, the Faraday effect. His thesis, by generating electricity with an electrical form of an early form of photoelectric cell, proving in effect that light was a form of electromagnetic energy. He would establish a converse link between electromagnetism and light by demonstrating magnetism's effect on polarized light moving through certain types of glass. He was a member of the Fellowship of Royal Society. He lived in a master mason's house from his retirement until his death. He has a memorial plaque near Isaac Newton's tomb in the same cemetery as Karl Marx and George Michael, who you once showed died by the numbers. So this guy was like a big time person, you know, in the UK. And if you just look that guy up, it's very, very interesting. And when all those cars were melting and there was bushes and trees that weren't affected at all in all those fires, you know, like remember the Paradise fires years ago that you covered? I mean, all these weird things where they have cars melting and the
let me
wheels
pause real quick for a second, Jason. So we talked about this when LA burned because they mocked the idea in the news of directed energy weapons. And I just want to remind people, they mocked it too when Maui burned. From the Maui fires to the Los Angeles fires were exactly 74 weeks. And directed energy weapons do include lasers. Weapon, lasers, energy all equal 74. When you run it in reverse, they all equal 88, like how the latest fire was in California. And from the Paradise fires of November 8th, 2018 to the fires on January 7th was exactly a span of 74 months. Again, those were the deadliest wildfires in Paradise and Los Angeles. And let's not forget that Paradise, California and Los Angeles, California both equal 118 and they happened on 11/8. But this double 74 thing, it seems quite clear to me that they're starting these fires with directed energy weapons. And there was something about the Maui Dew flavor too, or Dew Maui Blast or something that had come out right before I have to go back and double check that. But Dew, like directed energy weapon. Go ahead, Jason. I just want to bring that up.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know to look into that Michael Faraday, because, you know, that was just really odd. His name equals 107. Those fires started 107 days on 1/07.
107 days from his, what did you say, from his birthday? From his birthday? Or death anniversary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was his birthday.
Or it was his death anniversary, maybe.
It
was one of the two, death anniversary or birthday. Okay, got it. Military is also 107.
Yeah. Right. So, American Fathers, all the stuff he was talking about, I suggest he kind of look into that. And I know there's got to be more. You know, I'm just kind of, you know, going off what I remember looking up back in January and stuff. So, you know, that's something, a homework assignment for the listeners.
Well, what do you think, Jason? What's your hunch?
If you want to look into it.
Did human beings create this, or is it like they live? Is there some kind of alien species here that looks just like us that's actually doing this? What do you think?
I think it's humans. I think that there's been, stuff that they've invented, things they've discovered over the centuries and things. And it's the people that hold the scrolls, man, like Nas said. You know, I mean, they have a lot more information than they let on to. You know, it's not like somebody invented GPS and then started selling GPS devices to people back in the 90s. You know, it's more, I guess, early 2000s maybe. But, you know, it's stuff that they develop in the military and things like that. And they only let us have it because they use it against us.
Yeah.
You know, so all this technology, think about the technology that's in your cell phone alone. I mean, It's crazy. So there's no gods that are up there creating these things and dropping it out of the clouds. It's stuff that have been developed. I mean, they have teams of scientists and biologists and people that experiment on animals and all this shit, and the discoveries don't get released. I mean, they hide the stuff, they keep it, and then the people in the know that have all the power, they're the ones that get to harness all this shit, use it against people. And, you know, when we have never seen stuff before, they've had it for years. You look at the HARP thing, Zach. You know, they've been able to control the weather since the fucking 50s, you know, and people still don't buy it. You try to explain things to, you know, people, and they're, oh, they can't control the weather. Like Bill Maher joked about it, you know. So I think that it's just stuff that people have developed and discovered, and, you know, it just, as time moves on, they can make it better. They can use it against, like this Michael Faraday thing. You know, if the listeners start looking up that guy, you know, he was basically like I don't know, a mason, I guess. He lived in a master mason's house, you know, like somebody else's house. They let him live in it from the day he retired until he died. And the guy's buried next to like Karl Marx. I mean, so he was like an important figurehead, so to speak.
Sure.
Who knows who discovered all this stuff, but his name got put on it.
Sure.
Like Bill Gates, he didn't discover Facebook or Zuckerberg. He wasn't some geek who sat in his basement and came up with an idea and developed it and put it out there. It's like a military thing.
Right.
You know, I mean, what was it, Zach? There was a thing that the military had, and then the day they shut that off was the day that Facebook came online. You know, I can't remember what they called it, but it was like a military thing that all the people had. And, oh, God, I don't remember what it was called. But so they put these figurehead faces on it, just like Trump's a figurehead puppet, you know. And like Bill Gates, did he really make all these discoveries? I mean, the guy seems like an idiot when he talks, but, you know, he was the guy that they put his face on it. And then they recycled him for the jabby jab
Absolutely.
stuff, you know.
Yeah, from computer viruses to human. I gotta wrap it up though. I gotta go get Sweet Girl right now. My dad just texted me. I have my grandparents. I paid the grandparents to watch Sweet Girl, and they're saying you gotta come get her right now. So anyway, I gotta go grab her.
Yep.
All right,
man.
All right.
I'll talk to you later.
Right. Thanks, Jason. Take care, man. All right, you guys. Again, thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. Thank you to the people who supported. Thank you, Run Your Pockets, Leslie Margarita.